Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast number 139. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. We've got Johnny V back in the Milwaukee studios, home from his cruise, and we're going to also have a very special guest joining us for most of the show here, as long as he can stay awake at least. We're going to also have Paul Ulibarri joining us, and Johnny, pretty exciting night here tonight. It's a Thursday. Is everybody out of whack?
It is. It's gonna totally confuse everybody. No one's gonna show up for the event tomorrow. All our top pros think it's Tuesday. They're gonna think it's tomorrow's Wednesday. They're all gonna miss their rounds. The only person showing up is gonna be Paul because he knows we're done. So he's gonna jump up those 40 spots.
So late.
So one thing, just to get everyone up to speed right away, the Jonesboro Open, the PDGA B-tier tournament, is 4 rounds. It's going to be held today all the way through Sunday, Easter Sunday, that is. So some people are a little out of sync or out of whack already. Here we are for a really big, a huge payout for a PDGA B-tier tournament, but it already started today. So we're 25% complete, and people have to wrap their head around it. We weren't live on Smashbox earlier today, so you didn't miss that. There was some recordings that took place out there, post-production stuff. But we'll be live starting tomorrow afternoon. Johnny, do you know the time on that?
3 p.m. Central, which is also known as 3 p.m. their local time, 4 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, I don't know.
Okay, some other time. So
yeah,
very, very exciting stuff. Johnny, let's get caught up real quick. Where were you, and what was going on with you the last week or so?
On Thursday night or Thursday afternoon-ish, the family and I flew down to Orlando, where we spent the night there, and then we went over to Canaveral, otherwise most popularly known as Cape Canaveral area, where all those rockets and stuff fly out of. And we got on a the biggest boat I've ever seen. I've seen some really large boats in my day, because up in where my wife's from, they build basically these military boats, and they're pretty big. They're not like huge, but they're the larger ones. And this boat dwarfed them. This large Disney cruise line, this called the Disney Dream. And we got on a boat, and we're there for, as everyone wants to say, I'm on a boat. I must have heard it 1,000 times from everybody on the first 2 days. I was done with it. I was really done with it. Like, everybody knows, yes, you're on a boat. So,
and how many Titanic references? I know that's very different, but how many Titanic references?
Almost zero.
Wow.
I didn't even. I never made it to the very, very front of the ship. It was kind of the kids area. There was like mini golf and stuff up there, so I never even got to recreate my own Jack and Rose moment. It was a little disappointing, but. And it wouldn't have been the same without you, honestly, because let's be real. I'm sure you and I have done that at some point.
One time or another. People were really impressed with the picture that I post. I don't think we've had a podcast since then, or maybe we did, but some people were really impressed with the picture from a week or two ago. If you saw it on Facebook,
I did.
The one with you and I. Maybe we did talk about that, but I've stashed a few other pictures that I think are going to be ready for consumption at some point.
That was a beautiful picture, by the way. It was really touching.
It was.
Well, thank you.
It was
a little
funny.
Touching, in fact.
Yeah, there was more than a little touching. It's kind of funny because people don't realize that until you showed the more uncropped version, it looked like I was just like cuddling you or something. When actuality, the story, as you reminded me, was I was holding your arms back, because back in the day you were never caught without a hat, and to actually take a picture of you without a hat was few and far between. So I was holding you back from getting your hat, so I think our good friend Dane could take that picture.
The makeup,
but hey, I'll whatever, right? whatever excuses we have.
Also taking place in the last week, since you left on Thursday.
Yep.
Which was the day that we saw the 4-time and current world champion Valerie Doss, along with 3-time world champ Nate Doss. They flew into Milwaukee. They were delayed almost a full day. They were supposed to come in Wednesday. They ended up coming in on Thursday. And after a little massaging of the schedule, we headed right over to the Explorium brew pub. And from there was a welcoming party and a beer release party. And most know that I don't get too worked up over craft beers, but when they came to town, they did this collaboration. We worked on what's ultimately called a Sky PA, because Nate and Val are all about IPA beers, and it was the Skyline Classic. So cleverly, we arrived at Sky PA as the official beer for the weekend, and we had more than 100 golfers and friends and family and people from Barrett White traveled more than an hour, and Dan and Annette Harbeck and Dennis and Patty Wild, and people were traveled more than an hour just to come for this release, get some autographs by Nate and Val, and just have a really good time and experience the Explorium, which is a relatively new brewery in the South in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So it was awesome. So from there, I'll just continue on with that thought. From there, we did that on Thursday night. Friday, everyone got to kind of see the course for the first time. That's down at Kenosha County Parks is where it was held, at the Gray Fox course. Nate and Val played around, a casual round with a couple of our other good friends. And Friday night did the whole TD thing, got that wrapped up. And then Saturday, we were sold out at all 90 people. And things went incredibly smoothly throughout the day. We went over to the marina for awards. That went well. And then we kind of, repeated for the second day for all of the intermediates, recreational, and novice divisions, also 90 people. So 180 people over the 2 days. Nate and Val, I think, kind of freaked some people out. There were amateurs walking up, and Nate and Val were right there, like handing out a bevel towel or a pint glass from the weekend. And some people did a little double take, like, oh yeah, here's these world champs just handing out our player packs, or they were so graciously helping with the scorecards, double checking the scores, helping me get them posted online. It was a really cool experience, and they didn't just show up and play and ultimately win, but they were a huge asset to the event. Besides PR, they were just a huge asset to the actual event, along with John Turlap and Tom Jenkins and Joshua Moore and Ryan, our photographer, all those guys. So thank you to Discraft. Thank you to the Explorium for the experience, along with Bevel. And thank you to Dan Harbeck. If you need a garage door in that area, Dan's always willing to help out. So it was a pretty awesome experience all around.
And they played in the event also.
So they played in the event, and Nate had I filmed the round with Nate first round. Joshua was filming the women, and Nate had the hot score at 7 under, which is a pretty solid score out there. He had, I think, 2 bogeys, but he got to 7 under. And it was relatively tight. There was a 5 and a 6 and so on and so forth. And then in the afternoon, the lead card, I'll say, wasn't as impressive as I was expecting. And I honestly thought someone was going to shoot really hot off the second or third card and be able to come get it.
Really?
And there was enough swirling winds that no one shot that hot. And the hottest second round was only a 4 under.
Oh, wow.
And that was by Chris Herron, but he was far enough back that he didn't have enough room to catch him. And Val, who was down by 1 or 2 going into the second round, she managed a 1-throw victory over the likes of Barrett White and Haley King. So they both pulled off wins, which they said, kind of just felt like a bonus. You're in town doing all this beer stuff, helping, working, you're not, they've only seen the course once, all of that kind of stuff. And so, they might be the odds-on favorite to win it, but they had to go out and they had to work for it a little bit. So congrats to them. And again, thank you guys so much. I hope everybody really enjoyed that. We've got very few leftover Sky PA, mini buzzes and some other really unique items that I'm going to be putting out there so people can pick those up. But
there's
one. Good to see them go out and play a smaller tournament.
That too.
A lot of the top pros these days don't like to do that. I feel like I'm like the last soldier that travels and plays the smaller tournament. So that's cool to see Nate and Val get out there and eventually get the job done. But it brings, like you said, a lot more to the tournament, and I'm sure all the amateurs loved it. And so good for them.
We'd love to see them back. And again, the relationship with Explorium Brew Pub that we have now started. They're excited about disc golf. In fact, their owner, he had the most fun. He'd never played a competitive round of golf in any way. He signed up for the PDGA, signed up for the tournament, went out, shot himself 98 strokes later, and he had his first ever round in the books. And so talk about like jumping in head first. Mike Doble over at Explorium and a couple of his brewers and Kyle and Keegan are already golfers. So it's awesome. And the whole family was involved, and I think it's a beautiful start for them to get hooked on disc golf as well. So.
And let me just say right now, there's, I believe, at least one less Sky PA in the world, thanks to my wife, because we were fortunate enough to come home yesterday late last night. I think we got in at just about midnight, and I opened up the refrigerator, and there was the largest can of beer I've ever seen. I didn't realize that they canned them that large. I showed it to my wife because I'm not a beer person myself, and she looked at it and she goes, "Oh my God, that's like 4 beers in one because it's 32 ounces." And so today, after soccer practice, she's leaving tomorrow for the weekend. They're going home. They're going up away for Easter. And I said, well, you should probably drink it. It says drink within 48 hours. So so she started at dinner, and when I came down here just before 9, she said, I think I got 3 of the 4 gone right now. So I'm guessing,
I've learned those are crowlers. So instead of a growler, which is put into like a glass jug, those are crowlers, and they obviously make them right there, and it works in a pinch because they don't have a bottling operation. And so they were able to do that and provide those to a few other people. They provided free samples at the course, when appropriately timed on Saturday and Sunday. And then each night you were able to get it at the marina. So they were available there. And if you're in the Milwaukee area or you're stopping by anytime soon, for a little while, they'll still have whatever's left over at the Explorium. It's on one of their 24 taps.
My wife said it was well worth it. My wife said it was well worth it.
So very, very good stuff. Yuli, like you said, just to have players of that caliber at some of these smaller events, what seems like a smaller event, there's 180 people there, so it was at full capacity, but to have them in Wisconsin where we don't normally see players of that caliber all too often, it was really good. So that kind of segues right to one of my very first conversation pieces, which is here we are in Jonesboro. This is a B-tier event on a very, very solid course, probably one of the more challenging and longest courses you'll actually compete on this year, at nearly 10,000 feet. We have a light field. There's a lot of talent, but not a lot of people. What would be your take? I had a conversation with Schusterich this morning, but what's your take? Why is the field size so small?
I think that it's I don't think the tournament's just established. I think that a lot of people would have to guess, is this going to be a quality event? What are they going to do? I mean, obviously, with it having the Pro Tour status, that brings a definite quality to the tournament already. But we just spent a month in Texas, and it felt like we spent a year. And so I'm sure a bunch of people, it was like Texas and then go to Arkansas or maybe take the week off. And I can see where people took the week off.
We kind of talked about it earlier. 4 days. You don't see too many 4-day B tiers. It might be one of the first ever, actually. A 4-day B tier. Again, they hadn't necessarily been established within the ranks of the PDGA, maybe to be that A tier. Even a 4-day A tier is not all that common. There are a few here and there. And then we're ending it on Easter Sunday, and we're coming off this very long Texas stretch. Is the Pro Tour has been every other weekend now since back at the Memorial. Is that the right pace? Does there need to be, maybe a little break? I mean, I know we have a break before we get to Utah in a month, but is every other weekend too much?
I think that I had originally planned to go to Texas, go back to Arizona, go back to Texas, and only do the Pro Tour swings. And I ended up not doing that. And hindsight, I wish I would have, because it's a lot. I mean, Texas, like I said, we were there for a month, and actually Austin Turner and Coling and a few other people were there for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of golf in Texas.
Where usually Texas is known for a little bit lengthier, a little bit windier.
Windier, it's definitely...
and a little hotter.
Yeah, more of like and the weather is usually all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, windy, rainy sometimes. I played it in 2006, I think, and the whole entire course flooded at Tom Bass Park to where there were actually fish swimming in our fairways and stuff. So Texas brings it all. And yeah, I think that after that big swing, seeing this tournament in Jonesboro, I just don't think everybody was too sure about it. Now that we're here, it's definitely one of the best courses that we're going to play all year, for sure.
So let's break down. We'll get to some numbers and some stats, and Udisc and Matt Krieger's got some great info for us. But talk about the course. They're going to see probably a Prodigy themed video tomorrow morning from Marty, as well as a Jomez video. But talk about the course. What can people expect to see?
Oh, it's beautiful, scenic. A lot of up and down hills. Tight fairways, wide open fairways, mostly long. Like you said, it was 10,000 plus feet. I feel like a really good design also. I'm not sure who exactly designed it, but they did a good job. I think Drew Gibson actually had a little intake and a little on where they put some of the baskets and stuff. But, I mean, it's a great course, yeah. It's an awesome piece of property, and you can tell that they put in a lot of work.
They have, and for a course that doesn't necessarily get a ton of play on a daily basis, I think that presents a challenge or two. I really kind of, it's definitely more established than heading over to, say, the Throw Down the Mountain course in Brooksville, but I kind of feel it's similar. You could come out here in a couple months and you may see cows grazing on some of those fairways that you're talking about. So it's very massive. There's a ton of land. It's a really great course, but it's kind of in this semi-remote area that isn't going to get regular day-to-day traffic.
Right.
And when you're talking about 10,000 feet, I looked at Steve Dodge today and I said, it's a great course. I don't know that I'd play it for fun.
No,
I wouldn't come out here regularly and be like, yeah, I got an hour, because you're not getting it in an hour.
Right.
You've got.
Yeah, it's
a monster
for sure. It reminds me a lot of Blue Valley.
Exactly.
But tighter fairways. I think a tighter Blue Valley, maybe a little bit shorter, but that's what definitely it gives you that type of feel, and it's also a workout. And today it was hot out there for sure, and so I knew the scores were going to be pretty tight. If you want to go into the scores and stuff, but I think the top 3 are tight, and then there's a huge tie for third. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they told me that they thought that it would be a big stroke separation all the way down the field, and I thought that the top 10 was going to be extremely close.
Okay, well, let's get to some of the scores. So if you're living under a rock, you would realize that maybe you wouldn't have realized that you can go to udisclive.com thanks to all the hole-by-hole stats and details and scores and penalties and distances, all of those types of things that we're always using on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, a massive asset to the sport of disc golf as well as the Pro Tour. And we can take a look at really pretty much anyone's round and be able to tell you what happened on any given hole. But pulling it up, udisclive.com, right off the bat, in a very sporadic birdie fest, looks like Ricky Wysocki, 13 under. He's your leader. That included the eagle on hole number 16. Side note, happy birthday to Eagle McMahon. But an eagle on hole number 16, no bogeys, very clean. Couple birdies, couple pars, couple birdies, couple pars, just clean all the way throughout, 13 under.
Yeah, the one thing that you want to look at with that score that I think is really impressive is there's no 4s. There's nothing higher than a 3 on that scorecard, and that won't happen again on that course. I'd almost be willing to bet more.
By Ricky or
by anybody?
Yeah, okay.
I think somebody could go lower.
Sure.
But I do not think that somebody will go without a 4.
Okay. Yeah, because we're looking and it's all blue, and I think, well, somebody could, have all birdies and no bogeys. But the what's going to catch you up is looking at the hole 16. When you get a 3 on it, that's considered an eagle.
Right.
So there were a number of eagles today, but there were also a lot of 4s on it.
And 18 is one of the hardest par 4s that we'll play the whole entire year. So to see him go, like I said, without any 4s or 5s, that's very impressive. So hats off to him for sure.
Looking at some of his information, it says he's got a 100% scramble rate. His circle 1 putting, no surprise. He was 100% inside circle 1. And dare I say, did he circle 2? He missed a putt from 10 to 20 meters. Oh, Rick, he's having what a bad day.
He needs to get back out there.
Yes, he better be out on that course at that basket practicing.
For sure.
So very impressive by Ricky Wysocki. We'll see him on the lead card, and then joining him tomorrow will be Jeremy Colling along with Simon Lizotte and Johnny McRae. Again, when you're looking at those top 4 players, and we can look at the hole by hole, we're only seeing 3 over par strokes out of those 4 guys total.
Yep.
And that's very impressive.
Yes, that's what you got to do out here, especially with the young talent coming up, and a lot of people are traveling now and taking their games from their, home courses and stuff and trying to make it out here. And Simon had a great round. Colling started off very hot and just had that 1 blemish on 18. But really, that 5 on 18, that's a par 5 in my opinion. That's a really, really, really hard hole.
Yeah. And it looked like it was possibly just done inside on the green. Circle 1 putting. It looks like he took 2 putts, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, he had a putt. I actually saw that. He had a putt from about 25 feet, and he missed it, and then he made good on the next one.
Okay, so speaking of, I know Steve Dodge loves the stats, and thanks to Udisc for providing them. But Big Germ, 95% fairway hit, 75% scramble, and then that 94% circle 1 putting was what did it for him today. So very solid day. And then a guy we haven't seen as much lately. He's definitely been playing, just not necessarily at all of these events, and occasionally he dips into the Masters. We're seeing Johnny McRae, and a solid day out there. Also shot 10 under. Started with a bogey, but then I watched him take the Eagle 3 on hole 16, which was very impressive to make up for that. And again, solid. Made every putt inside the circle except for 1, but had made 1 out of 3 from circle 2, and 74% fairway hits. So very impressive for him.
Absolutely. And Johnny, the thing about the Pro Tour is there's no Masters division, so he's taking his game with the young guys and obviously hanging tough and playing very well.
And then just to round out the lead card, since we talked about them all already, 89% fairway hits for Simon Lizotte. He had 100% inside circle 1 putting, 20% circle 2 putting. He had more opportunities than most. That's something that Simon does. And again, just 1 blemish. He took a 5 on hole number 5, which appears to be, it looks like he had a penalty stroke there. Yep. And that was really his only hiccup, and then he took the 3 on hole number 16. Kind of surprising. He must have gotten a little trouble on hole 17, because that seems like a relatively easy 3 for you guys. Hole 17, that long bend.
No, it is if you have the distance. If you don't have the distance, so that fence on the left, there's a fence on the left that when I was on there, I actually threw it over the fence. We had a really big tailwind, and I barely leaked it left out of bounds, and it's definitely probably one of the easier par 4s on the course, but there's a lot of hard par 4s out there, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Johnny, before we get any further and talking about what we're going to see the rest of the weekend, do you have any recap or conversation about Texas State's, along with the points and where things stand over with Skip Ace?
Oh, that's where you're going with this. Okay. I actually have the page pulled up right now. Somebody, one of the 3 of us, I'm not going to point any fingers, missed making their picks.
Oh, yeah, that'd be me. Your silly system.
Yes. Apparently, we discussed this earlier. You logged in and you said you didn't see it. My guess, and I know you tend to be a night owl, my guess is that you came in late Thursday night and you didn't see it, because once the deadline passes, you don't see it in the next 5 picks. It goes into the locked zone, right into the vault. So you missed your picks. Now, the good thing is we are taking the top 20 out of 22, so this will unfortunately be one of the ones you have to drop. And it's a pretty big one, so it's going to hurt you in the long run. But we'll see how it all pans out at the end. But right now, I am currently still in the lead amongst the three of us. I have 3,096 points. Texas State, I went with, the funny thing is, I went with Simon Lizotte, and I pulled up a big goose egg because going on vacation, I wanted to make sure all my ducks were in a row, and I think I looked on Monday or Tuesday and saw Simon was on the pre-reg list. So I naturally put him in there with Macbeth, Sexton, and Conrad. I had Paige and then Stephanie Vincent as well. And when I got back here, and actually it was just earlier today, I did all the updating of the scores, and I looked, and I'm like, how did I get 0? Did Simon DNF? And it turns out Simon was on the registration way early, but ended up not showing up, so I got a big fat 0 there. But that is me in 5th place in the league. In 60th place in the league with 2,942 points is one Paul. Paul, you went with Macbeth, Wysocki. You went with Nico, who...
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there. Matt Bell.
He wasn't there, I don't think.
There. You went with Kat, who scored you 52 points. That's awesome. And then you also went with Stephanie Vincent for 32. So,
Nico was also on the pre-reg list, and then obviously playing.
Yep.
Nico's got lady.
To
worry about. He ran back to Arizona, spent some time with his lady friend, and then he I believe they turned around and ultimately drove the 22 hours to get here, and they pulled in a few minutes before we did last night, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nico said it was a nice little refresher, headed back, and instead of playing golf in Texas, went and met up with a lady friend.
And ultimately, if you want to have a
0 points. So.
If you want to have a funny inside view of Nico
next time or something,
follow Nico on Snapchat. You will get a funny, unique, not necessarily always the most PC, we'll say, view of Nico LaCastro. I saw he was at some sort of large warehouse dance party. I think some would call it a rave. And it was an interesting. I will not go into details because you can follow him on Snapchat yourself and see everything. But there was definitely some fun being had. All legal from what I saw, so we're good there.
I even bring that up.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying, but he is one of our more adventurous players, I think, as far as things that he does off the course. It seems like he's always into something kind of crazy, whether it's not making it to Australia and then just enjoying another island, or running off to go to a rave with his female friend. It's a fun view into his tour life that way. So ultimately, yeah, Yuli, you're in 60th place. I only have to scroll down a little bit more to get to Terry, the disc golf guy. He's in 74th place at 2,764 points. So you are, just about 200 points behind.
So that is going to continue to nag at me, obviously, until we get to roughly the 20th or 21st or 22nd week.
Yeah,
when something drops.
It feels like
so now I'll forever be buried, which may not be at all indicative of how well I'm really doing.
Ask two guys to see how they know how that feels, being constantly stuck behind somebody for an entire year. Well, you don't know. You could make that up with, honestly, if with a couple good picks and a couple maybe dark horses, you could make. I think you could make up like 100 points in a couple weeks. So, by no means are you out of this.
How many players are actually doing this, or how many picks?
In Yuli's picks, it looks like is this your largest league at 297 people that have done some kind of picks for this league?
No, actually, there's the Disc Golf Answer Man League is huge because they had a head start from last year. So I didn't pull people out. I don't know what's going on this year. I could probably pop in there and take a look. But they have a very large league. And then I think the Ultra World League is pretty big. Let me look at what Ultra World's, how many people they have. Because I'm doing really well in that league too. Even though Simon pulled me up, like I said, the big goose egg, I think I'm in 4th place in that league. But they have about 280, so they're real close to us.
Yeah.
And then, then Disc Golf Answer Man had like 400 or something last time I checked. But,
okay.
Yeah, so those are the 3 big leagues that we have going on, and obviously the main default fantasy league It looks like Answer Man this year has about 361 people that have made a pick for this year. So they have a lot of people. They give away a lot of prizes. I know for the big events they do, they do a bunch of giveaways, probably every other or every third event. So that's why they get a nice following there.
Okay. So speaking of this weekend and coverage, and I know we're kind of bouncing around in a number of different places. Today, while I was out really trying to focus on getting shot-by-shot coverage of the card that consisted of James Conrad, David Felberg, Austin Turner, and what did I say was on there? Now I'm already losing.
Johnny?
No, not Johnny.
No.
Felberg, Turner, Devin Owens. Sorry,
it's
two
okay.
lefties, two righties. So I got to see some phenomenal shots by those guys. Followed that round throughout, and then our other cameraman, Chad Inman, was out with an actual unit hooked up so that he could double check the signal with Johnny V. There was, of course, as always, a little bit of preliminary testing done a few months ago. It seemed as if it was going to be decent to okay.
Mhm.
We got out, and I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood here. I would say it's above average in terms of what we've typically have and what we should expect.
Yeah, it looked like it was on par, so to speak, pun intended, with what we saw 2 weeks ago at the Nick Hyde, where we showed up and the signal, the 4G signal, is really good. So I'm excited. It's just kind of up there with the Memorial. I think we're in for assuming the weather holds out. I haven't looked at that, but things should be pretty good.
Well, I'll say this though. I think there's more trees on one hole here than all of the Memorial courses combined. So be very patient with us. I'll give a disclaimer. We're going to have a throw cam and a catch cam, as we pretty much always do. And even with two cameras, it's going to be incredibly challenging, because when you're talking about 600, 700, 800-foot holes, plus a hill or a valley, and then a blind shot, and then a turn, it's going to be challenging. Yep. So if you're watching now or you're listening to this, be as patient as you can. We've got two cameras, and that's still going to be tough to cover these holes.
Yeah, Marty filmed our group today.
Yeah.
And
how much running around did he do?
He was running uphills, downhills. It looked like he did a lot of work. So.
Yes, for sure, running around. And when I was filming, there was a few times, as usual, where I was like, okay, I'm going to stay at the tee. That seems to be the best overall shot. And there's a few times you move to a catch. When you're only one camera, you kind of try and make a conscious decision on where you think you can get the best angle, so you're not always just getting it from the throw. But it's going to be challenging in that regard. But the signal itself looks to be pretty solid. So I'm excited about that, and all of our Smashies should be excited about that as well. Johnny, you want to talk a little game plan? As of right now, the plan is, here we are at 9:30 on Thursday night. The game plan is that the women's lead card will be filmed in the morning. I believe Steve's brother Todd will be working on that. He's going to film the women in the morning, and then Steve's going to cut it together as he's done for the last few events. Cut up the holes so that Steve can put in that women's footage. He's going to upload that to you, and then a couple hours later, we're going to be going back out and then obviously following around the lead card. As of now, it looks like Chad will be on a catch camera. Todd will be on the throw camera, and then it'll be myself and Steve Dodge giving you guys the play-by-play. So we'll see about that.
Steve's always a wild card on the play-by-play. You never know. Every once in a while, he hits one of those funny innuendos, and you think, did he mean to say that, or was he just absent-minded? So it's a good reason to tune in and see if you can spot Steve's innuendo of the day.
He's at the end of the day, he writes the checks. So if he screws something up on there, that's his business.
That's right. That's right.
Or if he needs to get a message across, well, he'll have the platform to do it. So it should be a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoys it. I think he's going to try and give you some stats and details found on Udisc, give you that insightful stuff. He's a very numbers-driven guy, and I'll be babbling about not knowing what kind of trees or clouds are out there. So something along those lines. Speaking of trees and clouds, I think, our most knowledgeable player on the tour of various trees, clouds, anything in the water. Madison Walker, still injured. So if you picked her, you picked poorly. Madison Walker's still not playing this weekend.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's a shame.
Now she fell a couple weeks ago and hurt her hand or her wrist. Is that correct? Terry,
correct.
Do you have the story? Okay.
She was rollerblading. She wasn't wearing her wrist guards. She was actually out raving with Nico, and then just got a little too crazy. A couple extra fist bumps. No, okay, she wiped out, hurt her wrist, and then, she was obviously trying to take care of it and only play when she needed to. And then we've talked about it extensively. She, has had to withdraw from a couple of different events now due to this pain. And I talked to her today on the course, and it's just not healed up to the point where she can be playing comfortably. And she's trying to hightail it out of here and get back and relax in Florida for a few days. And that's kind of her plan right now.
Right. Yeah. Injuries for a disc golfer, anything to do with the hand is just awful. Last year I had the finger, so I know what she's going through. And the best thing you can do is wait till it's properly healed.
Yeah, which is painful.
It's awful. Yeah.
It's mentally painful for you guys.
Very. I mean, you want to be out there competing. I know she wants to be out there competing. She was playing very well at the beginning of the year, and hopefully she has a speedy recovery.
All right. Well, and speaking of the women's division, someone who's always on top of that podium, first, second, or third spot, wherever it might be, more often than not, it's up at the top. We're missing Katrina this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any insights? Where might she be? Where in the world is Katrina?
Yeah, she's in Mexico. She's visiting some friends, and this time every year she's been taking a small vacation with some of her friends that she's had since her childhood. So yeah, she'll be back next week, or for GBO, I guess, will be our next big one, and she'll be back. And I think she really needed this break, and I think she'll be back stronger than ever.
Okay. Anything that she's working on mentally or physically? I mean, obviously vacation is a nice little mental break, but is there anything she's working on, or does she feel like she's right there and just needs to be her weekend?
No, she's trending in the right direction. She had the tie at Nick Hyde. She won the tournament before that at the Temple in Texas. And then last week she lost in a playoff to Paige, and so she's obviously playing well. And like I said, trending in the right direction. I think that she's regaining her confidence that she lost early in the season. And yeah, she's going to be a force just like she always is. And yeah, like I said, we'll see her at GBO. I'm sure at the somewhere around the top.
Well, yeah, and what I think, to follow that up, another interesting point is, and it's kind of a random one, I realize, but when we're looking at the top 4 women right now, the top 4 women at most events, at any given event, have, and it fluctuates, but you're usually looking at 4 different sponsors, which I think is kind of interesting to see. Way back in the day, we saw really Val with Innova, and then we saw a lot of the other top competitors, Paige, Hokum, and Kat, all with Discraft.
Right.
And now, talk about just a total swing. We've got Kat with Prodigy, of course, Val with Discraft, Hokum with Legacy, Jennifer Allen, if she's up there, or Madison Walker there with Innova. It's kind of crazy to see, and a Jessica Weiss, of course, and Paige with Dynamic.
Yep.
Everybody's everywhere.
Yeah, with all the new companies, they're all, trying to grab all the best players in the world, and they've a lot of these sponsors have definitely done that. So that's what we see even in the Open. On the lead card you'll have Macbeth, and then you'll have Coling, and he's with Innova,
but like a Lizotte or a Doss or yourself,
or even Eagle.
Discmania, technically. Yeah.
All the way down, it can be, like you said, one of 4 different companies playing on the same card.
It's crazy. So you said earlier, and I think you're rooming. God bless you. You're rooming with Drew Gibson this week.
Mm-hmm.
And he had some influence on the layout out here, or he visited here, or what?
He did.
Do you know to what extent?
Yeah, he came in January, he told me, and ran a few clinics, and the tournament designed the course. What's his name again? Do you remember?
Who
Brad.
designed it?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not even.
Brad.
Brad?
Yeah,
Oh,
of
Brad.
course, yeah.
I didn't know Brad was the
Yeah.
designer. Okay.
Sorry, forgive me. And he took them here, and they walked through the course, and Drew gave them input on where to put baskets, where to put tee signs, and then they kind of, happy medium. And I'm thinking that some of the influence Drew had definitely affected the course to how it's playing now. But you'd have to ask him.
Okay. Well, one
yeah,
of the
for
really
sure.
cool and unique things, maybe not unique, but one of the things that I know took place recently, as in even the last 24 hours, is they had shortened a few tees for the women to make the holes play just a little bit more competitively.
Right.
And then even as late as last night, they shortened a couple more holes, which was probably a little later than they really, of course, would want to. But when it's all said and done, I believe there were 7 tees.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at the scores, not that anyone's getting worked up anyway, but when you're looking at the scores, realize they're playing 7 tees that are shorter than what we saw from the men's tees.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in talking with Sarah Holcomb and Paige Pierce, that's going to help the competition. It's going to really allow them to showcase their skills and their talents on a number of these holes. Otherwise, if they're playing some of these what they call tweener holes, or what many people call, it may be drive, approach, tap in, drive, approach, tap in, and there's not a lot going on. But when you either shorten or lengthen them just to the right amount, it adds a little bit more of a different dynamic to the throw and to the strategy.
Right. And like you said, they did that the day before the tournament, which I don't personally agree with. I don't think that you should be changing the course the day before a tournament, because a lot of us are here early and all that stuff. But if they are changing the holes, I'm sure they have a good reason, and I'm sure that it probably worked out fine. And I know today the round went very smoothly. I'm not sure that. I heard there was only one backup for the women, and it was on hole 18.
Yep, I was there for that.
And so, yeah, whatever they do, it obviously worked. And let's see, we got Paige at the top with a -4, Holcomb in second, tied with Jessica Weiss at -2. But really, Paige is the one that had the better round, probably because she didn't have the bogey. She went bogey free.
Yeah, she did. And I thought it was really interesting. I caught up with them late in the round. They had started much earlier in the morning, and it looked like it was very competitive throughout. Paige, Sarah, and Jessica played together.
Oh, wow.
And so they also ended in the top 3. That just happened that way. But it was really, to me, the only reason Jessica is not leading the tournament or is in a tie for the lead is because she struggled through the final hole. Hole 18, you talked about how hard it is. It's 818 feet. There's no shorter tee for the women on that hole. So it's 818. And really the shot is to miss, 2 set of trees, 2 guardian trees off the tee. That's the most likely shot. Dave Feldberg and a few others can play it even safer, go for a wide hyzer, to kind of try and take these 2 trees out of play. But Jessica hit one of the 2 early trees, then she couldn't get out of there, and then she just kind of back and forth throughout, and she came in with a double bogey 7 when you saw, Melody Weibel come in with a 5, you saw Sarah Holcomb with a 5, and Pierce end with a 5. So, dare I say it, she comes in even with a 5 or possibly even a 4 there, and she's in the lead or tied for the lead.
This is an interesting statistic because it's saying that they played the same tee, but their par on that hole is par 5, and for us it's a par 4.
Huh, that is interesting. We'll move on. I don't know what that. No, I don't know exactly how that's arrived or if it's considered. And then you look at hole 17 from the shorter tee than what the men played, and you see there is
That's a way easier hole.
It's considered a much easier. But then again, Paige Pierce, hole 1. Do you know if she played from the same tee as everyone else, as the men, or if the women did? Because if they did, it shows that Paige Pierce deuced the opening hole at 460 feet. Deuced the very opening hole. Did you? You didn't do that today?
No, I wasn't in the circle. I threw a good shot, and I was about 40 feet. So.
Okay. Well, so very impressive. Like you said, no bogeys on the day, which led to her success. And Jessica Weiss, again, she had no bogeys going, and then she takes a double to finish out. So,
and Holcomb actually finished the round very good, the better of the three with birdie, 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 or birdie, birdie, birdie par finish. So
exactly. So should be a great to watch that tomorrow. Johnny, one of the things that I worked with or told Steve Dodge today as he was out there was that he's going to have to lengthen the women's footage. Normally he gives you about 30 to 45 seconds. Is that correct when we're watching the women that get spliced in?
Yeah, it's usually about 45 to a minute.
Yeah, so he's going to have to lengthen that tomorrow and think about that while he's editing, because as soon as the men tee off, there could be a 3 or a 4 or a 500-foot walk before we catch up with the women. So you're going to get extended or bonus coverage of watching the women tomorrow. We'll make those edits a little bit longer as we get into camera position for the next shot. But those are some of the little nuances we have to think about when we're out there and trying to give you guys all the coverage that we can. So
whole different world from your guys' perspective.
It is. The next stat of the day has to be how many ticks? Any ticks today? I was gonna say we're gonna have a tick checking party over here, but no one else showed up, just you.
Yeah, no. Surprisingly enough, I didn't have any on me today.
Okay.
In practice, I think I found 2, but through my career, all the times that I've played in these tick-infested courses, I've had 1 attached in my whole entire life. 1. I found, of course, probably 20, 30 on me crawling around, creepy crawlers, but I don't know. They're just not. They just don't come and
they don't bother you.
Yeah. But then I was talking to Andrew Rich, and he said that he had 20
Yeah,
yesterday.
he said, yeah. I saw him make his post at one time. He said something about having 9 at the time or whatever, and he could have had more.
Oh my gosh, just giving me the heebie-jeebies right now. Just
keep it in the fairway, Andrew. I'm just saying.
And Ricky said today that he found 9 of them on him, and,
wow,
and he shot 13 down. So
junk. Junk.
Must have been scrambling pretty. That was 100% scramble.
Yeah. Well, so that's something to keep in mind out there.
Poison ivy also.
Yeah,
everywhere.
The poison ivy is out there. Again, the course and the land and the hills, everything is just so beautiful. It just needs a little bit of that wear-in factor. Yep. But definitely one of the top pieces of land you guys have competed on.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, it's beautiful. All the aspects that you need to have a great course, it has it, with the water, the hills, the fairways, the nice, beautiful grass that everybody likes, you know. The weather was great today. It looks like we might get a little rain on Sunday, but yeah, we're lucky to be here. We really are. I was talking to Katrina yesterday. She asked how the course was, and I said, yeah, it's one of the better courses that we're going to play all year. So hats off to everybody who helped out to get this tournament on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, it's a great city to be into. For those who haven't been to Jonesboro, which I'm guessing is a lot of you, this is my first time ever stepping foot in Arkansas, honestly. And it's like a slightly, I mean, I think I saw that it's 70,000 as the population, and it's always easy to compare a lot of things to Emporia being such a disc golf town, but Emporia is about 10,000. But when you get here, everything's just 10 minutes or 15 minutes away at most. Everything's very accessible, easy to get to, and it seems like the town and the city is really excited. I was sitting and having breakfast with, Will Schustrick and a couple others were down there this morning, and a commercial, while ESPN was on, a commercial for the tournament came on.
Yep, I also saw the same thing.
So it's a regional, they're regionally based commercials, but it was a Disc Golf Pro Tour Jonesboro Open commercial right there as people are watching ESPN.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. I went yesterday, and I went to work out at this rec center. And I went in there, and they asked for my ID and stuff, and they saw that I was from out of state. And the first thing they said, "Oh, you must be here for the disc golf tournament." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's
wow.
kind of crazy."
Very Emporia-like.
Yeah, very Emporian-like. So, yeah, obviously they got the whole community involved out here, and it's even a bigger city, like you said, 70,000. I mean, that's significantly bigger than Emporia, and for it to be as tight as it is, they're definitely doing the right things out here.
Okay, well, it's great. Johnny, just to compare that for one moment, how many people did you say were on your cruise this weekend? Because that's insane.
On the cruise itself, I believe there was 4,000 people that were part of the cruise, and then there's 1,500 people that work on the cruise ship constantly. The whole bottom two decks. I almost felt like Titanic, the movie. I've only seen it once, but I know they put all the crew at the bottom of the deck, of the bottom of the boat. So, yeah, there was 4,000 people on that Disney cruise and 1,500 employees.
Wow. And no disc golf baskets.
Not a single one, unfortunately.
You said there were a lot of activities. Is there any way that disc golf could get incorporated into that cruise? I know we have the big disc golf cruises next winter, but
I say just wait for the disc golf cruise.
What's that?
Just wait for the disc golf cruise. I mean, that's why should we benefit Disney when we can have our own cruise?
That's a good call. So now, you got off at an island though, or not?
Yes, there was. It made 2 stops. It made 1 stop in the Bahamas, which we actually ended up not getting off the boat for that. It wasn't a lot of kid stuff. It was more shopping. There was a beach you could go to, Atlantis, I believe it was, but it was like $150 or $200 a ticket to get into that, which is basically a big water park. What did he do? We have Wisconsin Dells here, and from there, then we made a stop at Castaway Cay, which is like the Disney private island, where we did get off. We hung out on the beach. They serve you dinner. I rented some overpriced snorkeling gear, and ended up being like $50 for 2 sets of snorkeling gear. And nothing has a price at Disney. You just hand them your card, and they say, "Oh, you're on the boat. You're this number. Thank you." And you're just kind of like, I don't even know what that one. I'm gonna see that bill and it's gonna hurt. But we did. It was really cool to do all the snorkeling. You and I have been to Florida before. We've seen the white sand beaches and the nice clear water, but going down to like the Bahamas, it's a whole nother world. Clearly, it just the people were all very friendly on the Disney cruise, and the employees as they they're paid to be, but just the water and the ocean and the islands themselves are just so gorgeous. We already signed up for another one, to be honest. We put a deposit. We're going to go in like 2 years. So I would really hope, I would recommend it to anybody, to be honest. It's kind of crazy. I really, really want to do the disc golf cruise now. That's what it really makes me want to do.
Yeah, get a little more of that action. Local action tonight, and I apologize if there's other pizza places that are sponsors or not. But right after our very long day, we just randomly pulled up looking for some pizza. Not too far from our hotel is Upper Crust Pizza.
Not Johnny V's Pizzeria?
Not Johnny V's Pizzeria. No, Upper pizza. Crust. And I took my first bite of my Ranchero Calzone, and I immediately text Steve Dodge, who I knew was still back at the course. I said, I don't know if you guys ate, but the food here is amazing. Really? And so Chad and I went and ate there. I think I text you as well just to let you know. But it's near our hotel. I'm sorry. I think I'm going to have to return again tomorrow. It was
that good.
It was that good. So if you're in Jonesboro, that's my first pro tip here is to go to Upper Crust Pizza. Really, really good. Again, I had a calzone. Chad had a different calzone, and it was perfect. So Johnny V's Pizzeria is got a thing or two to learn.
I'll do it. No problem.
Oh, look at that. Upper Crust is a sponsor of the course, Seth says. Well, I very much appreciate them. And Disc Golf Nerd says Johnny V's Pizzeria was Susie's shop in the basement. Correct. Good thing no one's ever going to forget those places.
I hope not.
And Seth says I eat the Ranchero every time I go. So
you picked the right thing also. Wow.
I'm just saying it had chicken right on the menu. It had chicken and jalapeno, and I was like sold. Right. I mean, everything else after that was a bonus. Chicken and jalapeno and right there, ready to go. That's my jam, so to speak, or whatever. Okay. Johnny, what else have we seen out there in the disc golf world? I know you've been kind of gone. I've been talking a ton about the Skyline and and the brewery and working with Nate and Val, have you seen anything else out there? Anything we need to grill Yuli about in the disc golf world?
Not so much in the disc golf world, I'm sorry, not so much that we can grill Yuli about. The only other real news that I saw over the past week was the Disc Golf World Tour has released their disc golf metrics for the average person. So it's,
Does it include women?
I don't know. I would assume so. You go to their
question.
You go to their website. You
guys are chuckling.
You go to the website. I don't believe it's mobile unless you probably use a mobile browser, but I don't believe they have an app yet. I know the Udisc guys are working on something similar, and they keep saying that's going to be out soon, so we're looking forward to that. I think this adds, between the two of them, we should see some really good competition and some really good statistics, and I think it's going to help push the game to the next level. You're really going to see the big difference from everything from your 920 rated guys that are going to use this to your 980 rated guys that want to use this, versus seeing what the pros, everyone from, Yuli there up to Wysocki, and, looking at the difference in those statistics, you're going to see where their games are so much better than yours, because we've seen a ton of these 960, 970 rated guys that can throw as far as almost most of our pros. It's every other aspect that I think you're going to start seeing this huge separation, from scrambling to putting. Distance, as we know, distance is fun to see, but it's not the end-all be-all.
Okay. I was just out on the site. Where are you saying that someone has to look for it? I see. Or is it just something that we can expect to see moving forward? Did they do any retro?
They already have a system for when we play the World Tour event. They have a system to where we'll put it on the scorecard.
Okay.
And so it's a lot like the Udisc app and everything, where you put, okay, I made my putt in the circle, I threw my drive into the circle. But the thing is you had to open an account, and you had to actually register for the tournament in order to be able to keep your stats.
Okay.
And so I think what Johnny V is saying, that they opened it up to everybody?
I believe so, yeah. If you go to dgmtrx.com.
DGMTRX. Okay.
You can sign up here, and again, I don't believe yet you have to. You have to create a username and password, clearly, as that's going to be under any site, and it'll give you. I believe it also gives you some sort of rating as well. And from what I read on the article, I don't know what the rating's based on. I don't know if it kind of tries to standardize it to the PDGA ratings, or if it's a whole separate disc golf metrics rating. I know. Infinite Discs does the same thing. They have their own rating. I talked to the guys from Udisc. They're going to have their own rating. I'm not exactly sure how they're all going to scale up or down or compare. Or this is the kind of those I'm going to say those growing pains that we're going to see, where you're going to see these different setups. And I'd be curious to see someone run an experiment where you run 100 rounds through all these different services and see what type of rating you see. If they are compared to the PDGA, or if they're like a whole separate tier. So, but yeah, it looks like you do have to sign up on the website, and you can do competitions with your friends. They've got a course directory, I believe, different clubs that are on here. So it just asked me if it wants to know my location. I'm gonna not allow it to know my location right now. So, but yeah,
I'm on a boat.
I'm on a boat. So, but you can log in with apparently with the metrics, you can log in with Facebook. You can log in with your Google account. They've got all that set up. So, I don't know. It's definitely something to look at. We're going to see more and more of these type of things coming in the next couple of years.
Okay. Well, what I'm trying to spit out is, I think the competition of the stats, the numbers, the apps, I think that's probably going to be a story in itself. I mean, we're seeing live scoring that's been done for now many years on PDGA.com. We've seen it taken to another level when we watch what the Disc Golf World Tour has done, and of course what Udisc Live has done.
Mm-hmm.
I think seeing all of these different entities come about, I'll be interested to see how that plays out in itself. And like baskets or anything else, are we ever going to have a fully uniform or a fully official scorekeeping app, or whatever? I'm probably not, and I know that's because there's so much competition, but
Right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see along those lines, for sure. So
Yep.
Now, have you done any scoring yourself on Udisc Live's app for?
Yeah, I actually kept our statistics today.
Oh, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's really easy to use, user friendly for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you just put in a code for your card. It pulls up all 4 names. You click ready to score, and then right away it'll have a plus button for a stroke. And you push plus, and it'll be like, okay, so you threw it one time. Where did you throw it? Basically, fairway. Did you miss the fairway? Is it in circle 2? Is it in circle 1? Or did you throw it out of bounds? Click it. Next shot, same thing.
Okay.
And then the last thing that you'll push is when you hole out, it'll say hole out, so you made it, and you click on that one, and then it'll ask you how far you made it. So if you were in circle 1, was it between 11 and this and this and this, and 11 feet and 22 feet, 22 to 33 feet or whatever? You click that one, and that's it. That's how easy it is. Boom, boom, boom.
So that speaks volumes to say that, typically we've been relying on volunteers to kind of walk along. Today, Jim walked along with the card that I was filming. He walked along with the card and did all of those things, so the group didn't worry about it in any way. But here you are competing at a high level. And did you find it at all cumbersome or distracting or anything like that,
No, I don't think it did, because I did it actually the week before too at Nick Hyde. I kept the stats both rounds, or one of the rounds for my group. You kind of get it in your head early that you're going to be doing it, and so then it just becomes part of your routine doing it, and then or whatever. But at a bigger tournament, I've actually told Steve Dodge that I won't be doing it and my caddy won't be doing it. So find somebody else. Not to say that Jonesboro and the Pro Tour, this isn't a big event.
Sure.
But National Tours World Championships, I won't be keeping those statistics, and neither will my caddy.
Okay. Yeah, and I know I've approached your caddy, especially in earlier years, and I haven't so much lately. Alan Stewart's been your main caddy for a lot of big events out of Watertown, Wisconsin, and you really want your caddy's focus, because I know I've said, hey, can you just hold this camera, take this camera with you, or snap a few photos, or do this or do that, because he's obviously watching you and presumably a really good card play. And it makes sense for him, but hey, I got an extra camera. Take this camera and do something with it. But you don't care for that. Talk about your caddy mentality and where they need to be mentally.
No, I mean it's just it's a attachment of you on the course, really. And if it's not, then you shouldn't have a caddy, because he's carrying my bag, all that stuff, sure, but I want him to help me in my round. And the way that you obtain a good relationship with a caddy is by them not only rooting for you, but being where they need to be, not saying the wrong things. Believe me, there are some nightmare stories of caddies out there.
Yes, I've heard.
That we could all say, but to have a good caddy it's one like Alan, like me and him grew very well together. He knows it's not that he knows exactly what I'm going to throw, when I'm going to throw it, but he knows my mood. He knows he doesn't get too up or too down. Like some of my caddies, I'll have a good round, and towards the end you can tell that they're like kind of nervous for me, and I don't want that.
Sure.
I don't want any nerves from my caddy, and Alan's been really good about that, about keeping the same mood through the whole entire process. And it's important, like in professional golf, they have professional caddies that know the distances, that know everything, and they'll go through them. If sometimes I think I saw maybe Rory McIlroy had a caddy that, or maybe not Rory McIlroy, but let's say a professional golfer had a caddy, and he gave him the wrong club, and he fired him at the end of the thing, costing him a stroke. So I think in the future, as the game grows, as the money starts coming in and people get more serious about it, professional caddies will be a thing.
Sure.
I know that Ricky doesn't even let anybody carry his bag.
Or pull his cart.
No, because right there it tells you that he gets out of his own groove with somebody else on the bag. And so his little brother, I think, got the
was
shot.
one of the few that had that chance a few years ago.
Exactly. But yeah, to me, having a good caddy is very important, and it's not an easy job.
Okay. Well, and that makes a lot of sense. And that's where asking someone to take some photos or to do some video
Right.
or whatever, like you said, you want them focused on you and your game to make sure they're performing the task at hand.
I don't want to be throwing and him being like, hey, was that a 30-footer you missed over there, Paul? Or
Sure.
Hey, what about you, John? Did you hit the fairway there, you think? I don't need that.
It's also become very critical in this to kind of flip that coin and say having these stats. I mean, I don't go on and on for days about these stats, but a lot of people do. They get really excited about them. Right. I know you care about them, and there's certain stats more some people care about more than others, but accumulating these stats, that's a huge step in the right direction, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I've been saying it for a very long time that the reason that all the other sports are so important, there's a channel completely dedicated to that. It's called
Sure.
ESPN. That's all they do is talk about statistics and what happened in the game and what blah blah, who they're playing next. They go above and beyond, and that's what everybody gets so excited about seeing sports, is because they want to know all those statistics and how Steph Curry shoots 3-pointers the third game of the playoff game. Like, they have insane stats. And so, yeah, it's a huge part of the growth of the game, and the more stats that we get, the faster our game's going to grow.
Okay. Well, Matt was on the board from Udisc, and if I scroll up, I think he said thanks for doing this, doing the scoring, is what I think I saw him chiming. Thanks for keeping score, Uli. Love seeing some players do it. So he appreciates it, and I know we all do. It's great, and it's a challenge, because for those that see tournaments, whether it's in a media perspective or you're there spectating or whatever, tournaments need volunteers to do a million things. They need to be spotting, they need to be filling water jugs, they need to be taking care of the parking, and there's a million things that a tournament needs in terms of help. And as we've now moved into having the scores for Udisc and having those stats and those figures, that also means an additional person to go along with every single group. Now, you get this huge advantage of watching usually some really good golf.
Yeah.
So you get to see golf firsthand, but that's, these people are needed to help, compile these stats and make it happen. And sometimes it's a little bit tougher of a draw.
No, absolutely. And so, like I said, at a tournament like this, it's really easy to do. And for me to be able to keep the stats, it frees somebody else up to go and actually film the lead card in these cases. So yeah, happy to do it.
Okay. Johnny, I think someone on the board said we started talking about Texas states, but then somewhere we derailed. No surprise. Was there other Texas states conversation that wrap up or conversation that needs to take place?
Well,
do you have anything?
We could talk.
Texas states was
well, we could talk.
Sorry, we're getting a little bit of feedback here.
Sorry, we're getting a little bit of
should
feedback
go away
here.
once I start talking. The Texas states, we can hopefully. Here we go. I'll actually go a little bit about the results for Texas states here, because we didn't actually talk about that at all. We'll take some of Dana's job today. So, talking to, we'll start with the MPO. Ricky, 10 strokes. He beat Paul McBeth, and that is a huge amount for those two. I mean, it doesn't surprise me when either of those guys beat the other ones by 2 or 3 strokes, but 10 strokes, to take down Paul by 10 strokes is a phenomenal showing of strength and willpower and just play. I mean, he shot a 1099 rated first round. You can't argue with that. So as we know, then Paul McBeth takes second at 27 under. Jeremy Koling, staying hot, took third place at 25, tied with Philo. Really a surprise, a guy by the name of Edward Ward, who, PDGA number 62387. He's rated 975. You just don't usually see a guy with a 3-digit rating, usually in a single digits at these places. So.
Yeah, so give us the scoop. I think a few people have asked or prompted. Maybe it's Edward himself out on the board saying, hey, what about that Edward guy? No, but is there a story that I don't know anything about Edward myself.
I played with him the final round, and actually before I even played with him, Drew played with him the first round, and he told me, man, this kid, he's a player. Like, he's good. And then I heard the same thing from Ricky, because I think Ricky played with him the round after that, and Ricky said, no, this kid's good. So then I played with him the final round, and he's good. He's really good. I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but
like 18, 19, okay, 20, or someone. Ronald Harkey on the board saying he's 17.
He has to be younger than 20 for
okay,
sure.
So
yeah, probably 17, 18 would be my guess. Maybe a young 19, but great throws. I mean, he kept his composure was amazing. I actually sent him a message being like, hey, I was really impressed with the way that you played this weekend, because it's been a while since I've seen somebody like that. He was very calm, polite, really nice kid, and so wish him the best through his career. Yeah, for sure.
All right, and it shows that he's out of Indiana. Looks like he's got 3 open tournaments in this year so far, plus that one. So he's competed in 3 other events. He has a couple career wins. He's currently rated 975. Does he have a sponsor? Do you know?
I don't know. He was
Johnny V's Pizzeria?
He was wearing
Who knows?
some Innova gear, and he was throwing all Innova to what I saw. So
okay,
he was putting with Mick Pros and making everything. So it definitely he should be if he's not.
Okay, well, and the board is lighting up. Everybody telling us that he's 17 years old. Somebody said he thinks he won Indiana State Champs last year. Again, just taking a quick look, he's only been a member since 2013, and maybe it looks like he's cashed in all 3 or 4 of the events he's competed in, PDGA events this year, and it looks like he performed very well in quite a few events, or in a handful or so events last year. Very much in that Indiana area, staying in that general area. I see Checkered Flag, Muncie Open, Circus City, all Indiana-based events.
Looks like you might have played in a high school event also.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Gold, Indiana State High School Disc Golf Championships, and that kind of seems like I'm. Before I click, how many did he win that by? I'm going to click on the results. How many do you think he won that event
20.
by? I was
I'm
going
to
to say
40.
20.
How many rounds?
You're going to say just 2 rounds.
2 rounds. Then yeah, I think you're looking at 28 strokes.
Yeah, he won by 16. So he clearly a young stud with that's doing a lot of the right things for sure. So very cool. Anything else, Johnny? As I'm gonna backtrack quickly. You kind of mentioned.
We'll finish up a little bit with Texas States here. Tying Edward was Nate Sexton, but we also saw in 3 strokes under them was the Texas little young. I was gonna say the young Texas phenom. He was young when we were young. Nolan Grider, who is out of I believe it's Anna, Texas. I think is he's PDGA number 13219. He's an old Nolan Grider these days for us. He's our age, and he was right up there with the guys. And then a name that shouldn't be surprising, but kind of is fellow Prodigy player Will Shoestrick, who seemed to have been able to get up there into 7th place and play really well.
A little bit more dialed in.
Yeah, so if we're lucky, we get to see some of that.
He was actually on the lead card the final round, and he had a very good round going, and he would have actually finished 3rd, but he took a really big number on maybe the 3rd to last hole or something. So Will was actually playing very good. Nolan, shout out to Nolan, made the Texas Disc Golf Hall of Fame. I saw
that.
And so that's actually pretty cool to see states getting involved and more states, and for him to make Texas has a lot of great players in the past, so congratulations to Nolan.
For sure. Very cool to see that as well. On the women's side, you kind of alluded to it earlier. There was a playoff between Paige and Kat. I'm guessing you saw it?
I was actually on the course when they played off, so I did not get to see it.
But they had a huge margin, 13 strokes over what was ultimately 3rd place in Jessica Weiss, and 15 strokes over Christina and the rest of the group. Maria Olivas slipping into the bottom cache there.
And those are real ratings, too. Paige started off with a 1033 rated round.
Kat with a 955, or 995, sorry.
Right, which isn't nothing to sneeze at. And then their final rounds were 1018. So they were playing some very good golf, and that's a very, very high level to compete at for them. So
Yeah. So for all you guys out there that that maybe kind of poo-poo watching the women play golf, look at them. They're putting up 1,000 rated rounds. 2 out of 3 of these were 1,000 rated rounds, and you're gonna get that out of almost any MPO every day for what we film. So don't shy on these women golfers. That's for sure.
No. Today we were walking down the fairway of hole 18. James Conrad had thrown. I think Devin Owens threw the best drive in the grouper. And at one point, James Conrad kind of turned to the rest of the group. He's like, Paige put her drive up here, like, talking about where it was on hole 18 because she had just laced one. And then I said, yeah, but she threw from the short tees. And he paused and he turned. He's like, no, there wasn't a short tee on this hole. I said, I know, I watched. I was just kidding. Like, she just laced that drive, and it was as good or better than any of the 4 that were in the group that I saw. And dead straight down the middle, great position. She struggled a little to get up and down for it and walked away with the 5. But it was a very impressive drive that any MPO player would have been more than happy to have with where she placed that drive on 18 today. So Patrick Brown, JD Ramirez battled it out with Patrick coming out on top in the Masters. Maybe not so much of a surprise there at the Texas State's event. And good to see Indiana player Doug Chilcote still throwing some discs around. That's awesome.
Wow,
maybe
that's
he
old
traveled
school.
down there. Yeah, he may have traveled down there with his fellow Indiana buddy, but very cool to see. And Grandmasters Michael Raley was topped just by a couple strokes. Kim Hock Peck and Roger Reyes edged him out. And Neil Dambra, Jeff Hungerford, big smashy, solid showing there for Jeff to come into second. So very cool to see over at Texas State's. Again, a lot of work, like you said, kind of wrapping up that Texas swing. Could you see a Texas swing every April? Is that a March and April? Is that kind of a no-brainer? Yes, no, maybe? A bunch of courses, a bunch of good, solid events all in a row.
I've been very vocal about not liking Texas golf.
Okay.
But the Texas swing that we did this year, the courses that we played were the best courses that I played in Texas so far. The amount of time and effort that the tournament directors put into those tournaments, there would be no reason for them not to get that swing again. And they all did an amazing job. So, absolutely, Texas. I mean, they put 4 big tournaments in a row for us to go there and compete. So, I could definitely see it happening again. Will I be there? Probably.
Okay.
If there's golf to be had, you're going to be there, Uli. We know.
Yes, the Uli stamp of approval and the Uli Road Warrior calendar here to get added to it. Other things going on last weekend around the country. Is there anything else? I know my Skyline Classic and all, but no, is there anything else that really jumped off the map?
I saw one thing. I saw Max Nichols finally taking down Steve Rico at the Silmar Open.
Yes.
And, are we talking finally? It's an anniversary of him taking him down. 3 years ago, we did it as well at our first broadcast.
Oh, really? And then I think they went to 2 playoffs 2 years after, and Steve-O's bested him. So
okay. So what's really unique about this Silmar Open, and I know I posted this a few days ago, it did bring a little nostalgia to me that we are exactly, or just a few days ago, we were exactly 3 years in to our first ever live broadcast for SmashBoxxTV, and it took place at the Silmar Open.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Steve and Bombarico who had said, we believe in you 2 yahoos, and we're going to help get you guys off the ground. At the time, we rented some equipment, which was incredibly expensive to rent and we ultimately did it for a month. And the very first ever broadcast we did, we learned hard about how signals work or don't work sometimes, and Silmar's not a great place for good signal. And it's a 3-round event, which is unique in itself. It's a C tier. It's a 3-round event. They, I think, keep lengthening or keep shortening the holes. I think keep shortening them. Per the scores. They keep shortening them just ever so slightly. And sure enough, I will never forget. We struggled. We came in on the second round. The first round was out there; they were doing their thing, and we were trying to conserve battery and all the other strategies we thought we had. And we came in on the second round, and Kyle Ekman on our 7th hole of ever broadcasting, Kyle Ekman aces. And I lost my shit. I was like, oh my God, here we are. I'd worked for so long working with Disc Golf Planet and volunteering with those guys and enjoying all of that, and just rarely or never in my case really seeing an ace. And here we are 7 holes into our broadcast of trying this out, and we got Kyle to ace. Now, it was really hard to see, and the signal was choppy, and every other thing wasn't perfect. But we had an ace on our first ever round, and it was
meant to be.
It was pretty cool. It was very exciting, and they continued to battle throughout, and we were running batteries back and forth because we kind of got, there were so many challenges, a lot of which we've never duplicated, believe it or not. But there were a lot of challenges, and when it was all said and done, it was Max that slightly bested Steve that year as well. So. Maybe a little bit fitting. Here we are, fast forward a couple years later, and Max with a solid performance, taking down Steve Rico. So, huge thanks to Legacy. They will forever be our friends and family and amazing guys. Stephen Bamba, obviously future Hall of Famers, just amazing guys. And without them, Smashbox may have never taken that official leap into doing our first ever broadcast. So we'll forever thank them. So. And then, what was it? The next weekend, I think, I rode a Greyhound for about 13 hours in some really shiesty situation to get down to Bowling Green. And we then broadcast the Bowling Green AM Championships Final 9. We broadcast that live. And we had hole previews that were done by Simon Lizotte and a putter. We had Avery Jenkins on the mic with me, and we had Jamie Thomas working our camera.
Oh, wow.
So talk about an effort back in those days in our start. It was
that's crazy. And now you see Jamie Thomas doing the commentary. You see Avery doing the commentary now.
Simon Lizotte's still throwing far with every disc he has. Yep. So the more they change, the more they stay the same. So very, very, very cool, very nostalgic. And then we're also going to see in a few days, going right along that timeline, we then covered the Rumble, which is taking place in the Quad Cities this weekend.
Right.
But we went and we had that backpack to do the live coverage, and we went and filmed the Rumble. I believe we saw you there. Mm-hmm. We saw Kat. We saw Macbeth.
Yep.
So we had filmed that event, and then we went and filmed the Minnesota Amateur Championships, where I met Jordan Castro for the first time. And that, having him live, and that's where I met him, and then forever remembered him from his solid performance there. So it's that first month when we were live, we rented the backpack, and we had it. And we went live 4 weekends out of 5 because we were trying to practice as much as we could while we had it rented.
You're practicing with doing it, though.
Well, that's
how you do it. That's just how you do it. Well, you know what, Terry?
You had no practice, actually.
Yeah,
Terry,
correct.
let's take a real quick break here. And our good friend Disc Golf Nerd has sent us a review. So it is the Discraft Archer. So let's take a couple seconds to step down, and we'll show that. Maybe when we come back, we can talk about real quickly the other really huge event that's going on this weekend that we haven't even touched on, and that's the Collegiates.
Of course. All right, let's hear it.
So go ahead and do some quick research on the Collegiates, and we'll do this. So, all right, guys, we'll be right back in a second.
What's up, Smashies? Welcome to my review of the Discraft Archer. This one is a first run in Elite Z plastic. It is right around 175 grams. I really like the Elite Z plastic. It's one of the most durable blends on the market. I like the bright colors that it comes in, and I like the overall stamp motif. The lettering on this disc is great. I think it looks awesome. And it's just one of those plastic types, it's going to hold its flight characteristics for a long time, and they're very consistent from disc to disc. So if you lose this disc, you can go grab another one off the shelf, and it's going to fly very similar. So I really like the durability and the bright colors. Not the grippiest plastic in the world, but plenty of good feel in the hand. This particular disc is a little bit faster than your average mid-range and a little bit slower than your average fairway driver. It's almost kind of like a hybrid where you get the control and accuracy of a mid-range, plus a little bit more distance and speed potential of a driver. So it's a really good kind of utility disc in that sense that'll fill some roles, probably be a great disc for in the woods. In flight, this disc is a little bit straighter than I expected. I expected it to be really flippy, but it really just ends up being kind of neutral disc. It will hold a turnover very nicely without kind of turning and burning on you. It'll hold a smooth turnover that'll turn soft to the right. It will roll quite well, so if you want to get it down on a roller, it's very easy to get it to do that. And once it lands on that roller angle, it'll carry very nicely down the line. I can also hyzer flip this thing flat. It'll kind of gently fade to the right a little bit and then finish back to the left just a tiny bit, really just finishing in line, not really fading so much at all. Almost no fade on this particular disc, which I like quite a bit. I think this would be a great option for your average player as something to kind of control through the woods and work it on some different angles down the line. Also could be a great option for beginners and especially maybe younger folks or women looking to get into the game because of its small rim and comfortable feel in the hand. Plus that low fade, straight flight could be a great option for beginners. And yeah, just a really nice kind of utility disc. You can throw rollers, turnovers, hyzer flip to flat, maybe some tailwind shots or a standstill drive that you don't get a lot of power onto it. A really good kind of understable to neutral utility disc from Discraft. That's my review for this month. I will check you guys later. Well, that's it for my segment. Big thank you to Smashbox for having me be a part of the show. If you guys would like to see the full review of this disc, as well as over 100 others, plus disc golf tips and information, my little podcast, and lots of other disc golf related content, just search for Disc Golf Nerd on YouTube or Google. Thanks, guys.
Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back. We're here at the SmashBoxxTV podcast number 139 with very special guests here in the hotel studio. I've got Paul Ulibarri joining myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, Johnny V back in Milwaukee at the controls, and we'll be bringing you live action throughout the rest of the weekend here from Jonesboro, Arkansas. But going on the other side of the, well, not quite the other side, just a few miles or a few states over from us is the Collegiate Disc Golf Championships. Huge event. Both amateurs and professionals are there, both of them competing as we're seeing. And Johnny, it looks like
this
on the 12th is when things got started for some singles play. Is that what I'm seeing?
That's what I'm seeing, and it's really hard to, for me, it's really hard to follow this event not knowing the exact format and how it works. I know we've got a couple people on the board that have actually participated, but it looks like they have like 50 different events that then I'm assuming they all get points for. So we're going to kind of go through a little bit right now. They're 1 or 2 rounds into each of these different events. So starting out at the top, we'll talk about the National Collegiate Disc Golf Championships individual event, and this is at the very top of the list. What we're seeing right now is they are only 1 round in Austin. I believe is it Correa? Austin Correa?
Sure.
Correa, out of Virginia, from Team Virginia Tech, is currently in the lead. He is shooting 12 under par. He's 1,024 rated round, followed up by Colin Carter out of North Carolina State, who shot 1,013. I'm looking. I don't recognize a lot of these names, which is good. These are young golfers that are on their way up, that are kind of on the rise. A couple of them that I do know is Justin Lammers, who is a local here in Wisconsin. Very, very good young pro player. And Ryan Kanto, who, was it Kanto that took down the putting championship or took second place at Pro Worlds a few years ago, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, 2012. I believe on the AM side for 2012, he had won the. I feel like it was Weston Isaacs that won on the pro side, and maybe Justin on the AM side, or at least in one of the exhibitions or something along those lines. But yes, Ryan Kanto certainly, and if he putts hard or putts and misses, he's got just as long of a putt coming back. That's hard, but more often than not, he makes them.
He's got that Ricky putt speed. Unfortunately, not quite the accuracy that Ricky has. So, whereas Ricky slams these chains, Ryan doesn't always. But he's a very solid young player, and we wish him the best out there. We'll talk about the I'm just going to call it the team event now. This is going on as well. They are, I believe, technically 3 rounds into this. Right now, North Carolina Charlotte is tied with Wisconsin Platteville at 96 over par. And now this is cumulative scores. So these are not just, this is not just one or two people. I think you've got quite a few that are doing this. Followed up by North Carolina State. Actually, why does it say second? Do I have this sorted? Oh, I see. The way it's sorted, I'm going to resort this here because it looks like they've played different rounds, and I'm guessing that means they've played different. Some of them have played 3 rounds. Some of them have only played 2 rounds, it looks like, or 3 rounds. I don't know how they have this sorted, to be honest. I'm totally confused. So, but right now it says first place is Ferris State, followed up by North Carolina Charlotte, then tied for second is Wisconsin Platteville. So we'll see exactly how this pans out. It's a hard event to follow. I know we've talked about covering this in the past, but with as many teams, as many different events that they have, it really just doesn't come together till that final day. So it's really tough for us to kind of get through.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Well, Lance Brown says he can tell us the format.
Okay.
2 doubles day 1. 2 doubles day 1. Singles and doubles today, and also singles and doubles tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what he said. All Americans will be determined tomorrow evening. Then 2 doubles rounds to finish it off on Saturday.
Okay.
Again, that's one of those events that I really would love to get to so that I can speak more eloquently about it moving forward in terms of the format. But of course, I want to see the action and the play, and some of these are our next big superstars. We've seen a lot of our top players there acting as coaches or as some type of mentors for our players. I know we've seen like your Sextons and your Macbeths that have been there in the past, and so I'd like to get there at some point and check it out and have some kind of coverage. This year, obviously, it's falling on the same weekend, but I know there's been some coverage of it in the past, and I'd like to get there again in the future. So we'll see. Lance says the scores will all make sense after tomorrow's rounds, and then he says, Terry, get out here next year. So it's just a matter of it falling on the right schedule.
Is Lance playing out there?
I think Lance posted on the board earlier that he's out there this year, but he is not competing right now. So again, he may be one of those guys.
Right.
Lance, I'm sure you can tell us if you're, kind of operating as a coach or mentor or just overseer of what's going on. But just a huge event, and I know there's a lot of effort. And as I was filming the round today, in my Twitter feed, I kept seeing a lot of stuff coming from the PDGA that was talking about, some scores and some stats and some updates and things like that. I couldn't pay attention to all of them, but that would be a good place to go see what's going on as well. And I'm sure the PDGA.com will have an article or 2 or 10 written about what's going on at the event.
Johnny, how many states are competing?
I don't know.
Schools.
It looks like they're as far as number of schools, I'm looking at the team, and it says here there are 43 different teams playing.
Awesome. Okay.
So, and I don't know if a school is allowed to bring along 2 teams or if you can just bring one. I know last year we all took our home state. I think we had Platteville and maybe it was Whitewater, and then you had Arizona or ASU, I believe, and I'm looking around and it looks like Arizona's not faring so hot this year. Wisconsin is, we've got Platteville's in second right now, and then Whitewater is a little further down in 20th. So Emporia is.
The fact that those. Awesome.
Yeah, correct.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He was just saying that they're just the fact that the schools are out there, and I have to say that's Pete May, that's Alan Kane, that's the PDGA, that's so many people that have built it to what it is today, that have made it, this huge effort, and then for them to execute it the way that they have. I know our good fellow friend in Smashy, Jen Schaffer, is out there representing CSUMB. Yep. And although I know the kind of work that she puts into having her team be out there and be representing, so it's really, really awesome to see. And clearly, it's one of those next obvious steps in disc golf for us.
And it takes a lot for them to get out there. It's not easy for I know that my brother actually ran a few fundraisers for the ASU team to get out there and stuff. So it's not free. Those schools aren't paying for them to go out there, I don't think, and so. For a lot of them to take the time and actually get a team together, it's a lot of work and then a lot of dedication, and they need a lot of help. So.
Yes, they've been, like you were just saying, the fundraisers. Some schools really do rally behind it and have different ways to help get the students out there. Some don't, but it's very cool to see the effort that's been put in, and being out at the Hippodrome and being in Augusta, obviously, just a few days after the Masters takes place. Very electric and very exciting place to be, and very historic for golf and disc golf. So,
Ronald Harkey is saying,
doing some fact checking for us. Thank you, Ronald.
That 56 teams qualified, and that there are apparently 2 flights. There's 41 in the main flight, and there is they also have a second flight if your team wants to, or if your school wants to bring more than one team. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, an interesting conversation piece that was brought up around the practice basket today, and I wanted to file it away a little bit. One of the conversations that was had was, we're seeing with World's Registration Open and whatnot, but what we're seeing is, with our conversations a few weeks ago with Josh Anthon, we know that he wants to be out there. He wants to be competing. He wants to be playing in the biggest stages against the best competitors. One of the questions brought up on the putting green today among some of our top professionals that know him very well, some were asking and saying, if he were here this weekend, and this is a lot of hypotheticals and woulda, coulda, shoulda, but if he were at a place like here this weekend, is he going to jump right into those podium spots, first, second, third? Because when he was eligible and competed, we'll say a year or 2 years ago, and he had the opportunity to go out and play 6 events, he won all 6 events. Then this year he comes out, goes to St. Patrick's Classic, which he's very familiar with, wins that kind of handedly over Steve Rico and a few other players. The question really was, nobody was doubting his skills, but what they were saying is, he's come back, he's revived, he's excited, he's happy to be playing golf and living life and loving life. But if he stepped into a new course, a new place, the new situation, the new technology or whatever, would he be competitive here this weekend? As one example. Of course, he hasn't played, a million times. Would he be competitive here? And I'll throw the question up to you, Uli. Do you feel like if Josh was here this weekend with what we know and what we've seen from him in his comeback, would he be, finishing in the top 3? Would you be scared of his skill sets?
I mean, Josh Anthon's a great player. He's proved it over the years. I mean, he runner-up at the World Championships 3 years in a row. There's no argument there. Now, for him to come back and come to a tournament like this and place top 3, there's nothing really stopping him except for the Ricky Wysocki's and the Simon Lizottes. And he hasn't lost a tournament in 3 years. So
he hasn't played a lot of new venues or 10,000-foot courses either. And that was their argument.
It's true. So it's a good debate, and if I were to guess, I would guess that he wouldn't play bad, but would he win the event? I would say no. But would I expect to see him on the top card? It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Okay.
I think he would probably. I think Yuli's right. I don't think he'd be winning events immediately. If he gets to an event early and has 2 days of practice, who knows? But I think you will see him. Let's just make the assumption that he does start hitting some of these events. I think you're going to see him dip into that top 3 spots on occasion. He'll take a third, maybe a second, but I think it's in his position with the time off he's taken on these courses he hasn't played. I think it's going to be very tough to be beating some of our top players right now. But like I said, with a day or 2 or 3 of practice on a particular course, anything's possible with that guy.
Yeah, but you got to also think that when he was on tour, was he winning every weekend? No. Was he winning events? Yes, 2, 3 a year, 3, 4 a year out on tour. So do you expect him to come back and be better than he was before? Because the level of play has obviously gotten way better.
Yeah.
You got to think. I would say no, but then again, we don't know what he's capable of at this point. I mean, he's, like I said, he just won the St. Patty's tournament by a landslide victory.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even close. But I mean, the same question was with Dave Feldberg. Is he going to come back from his injury, and is he going to be competitive? And he proved to us that yes, he's going to be competitive. He got 4th at the Memorial, which is a very high finish, and he's probably playing well this weekend. I don't know exactly what place he's in, but yeah. So
okay, well, a lot of this came up because he wants to compete at the World Championships. He's talked with Steve Rico about it, in terms of traveling. He's talked, and he's gotten everything squared away to where he is eligible to compete there. But then I believe through the registration process, and again, I was very hectic last week, so I didn't stay on top of all of the social media madness. But I believe there was something stated that because he didn't play in any events last year, he may be in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th tier of registering for the Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the Worlds 4-round tournament this year?
I believe it's going to be 4 or 5. Honestly,
I was fairly certain that we're at 4 rounds now.
Just down to 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 rounds, no final 9,
right?
Correct.
I believe that is the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more than likely 2 at the IDGC. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago at Jackson probably, and then 1 at the Army base.
And I heard a new design at the Jackson course too. So
interesting. That I hadn't heard. So something along those lines is what we'll likely be seeing. But he wasn't able to register just yet. He's a current, ready to go pro. He's played in, the St. Patrick's and so on, but he didn't compete in any events last year. Therefore, he didn't earn any points. Therefore, in the 4 or 5 different criteria, I believe he's a step or 2 down. Someone like yourself, obviously in that top criteria, in terms of being registered and ready to go, but he's not necessarily there yet. So. We'll see. Someone had said that maybe this was just my cheesy way of saying others, instead of saying bringing it up, that maybe I'm displacing it and saying that others brought it up. But no, I'll name names because it doesn't really matter. It was Cam Todd, world champion. It was Devin Owens. It was Dave Feldberg, and it was a very pointed conversation. Everyone's just saying, will he be? Would he step right into those podium spots? Now, Josh has known Paul Macbeth, but he hasn't really seen Simon play or played with him too much. He hasn't, in Eagle McMahon, Eagle didn't even know he was a vegan yet, I think, when Josh was, winning Worlds or taking 2nd in Worlds. But in all seriousness,
or Ricky,
Ricky, yeah,
it was early when Ricky's rookie year when he was out there competing. I think Josh took him down at the Pittsburgh national tour, and I think that was the first time that he had really played with Ricky. So, yeah, a lot of new faces that he's going to have to deal with coming out here.
Yeah, he certainly will, and I'll be excited if him and Steve really do find themselves on their own. It was the conversation about him, Steve, and possibly a D-Bill, Derek Billings, and if the 3 of them hit the road, it should be a lot of fun. Speaking of Derek Billings, Derek, you're off the hook. God bless you. Johnny, Paul, did you guys see the video a few days ago of I think it was a Next Generation Tour stop? Mm-hmm. And the wins were insane. And somebody, what did he card? Did you remember what the guy carded?
I don't know what he carded, but I think it was like
in the 20s?
20-something.
Yeah.
It was amusing. If you haven't seen it, I suggest. I don't know what it was called, but I'm sure you can YouTube Windy Disc Golf or something, and it should pop right up because it was amusing to say the least.
Yeah, so Johnny, you probably didn't see it because you were out on your Disney cruise.
I was crying, laughing so hard.
There's about a 4 or 5 minute video of two or three guys ultimately trying to hole out, and it was kind of perched up on a slightly elevated area, and there were discs being thrown upside down. and there were multiple attempts to try and get it just near the basket. And one guy, it was all the way in the basket, hit some chain, came back out, and then he literally had like another 10 strokes that came after that.
The disc in front of him just to like
move forward like
just to move
3
forward.
feet.
He put it on the ground like this, let go, and the disc literally flew behind him. He went spike, and the disc went boom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was the funniest thing I think I've ever seen.
It is. It's
so
not disc
funny.
golf at that point at all. I mean, it was just chaos, and I feel bad. I don't remember a lot more of the details, but I believe it was a Next Generation Tour stop somewhere.
Colorado, I think.
Colorado.
I think
Okay.
so.
And just it was 20-some strokes, and I'm sure our board could chime in with the details because I'm sure some of you guys saw it out there.
God,
Pretty funny stuff.
The spike. He was just trying to set it, literally place it in front of him, and he spikes it, and the thing just flies away. Oh my gosh.
A lot of people gave me a hard time because I had posted the Derek Billings when he, had his struggles, and that video was out the other day, and all of a sudden I got tagged, and it was Derek Billings saying something like, "Ha ha, F you, Terry Miller," and I think it's because he thinks he's off the hook. Derek Billings carries a little bit more weight in terms of his skill sets. You don't expect to see what we saw from him, but some of these amateur level players, the struggle's real. I think they say
The struggle was real that day.
Was very real. And yes, on the board they're saying it didn't realize it was turning. Again, I believe it was a Next Generation stop, and somebody said they were just messing around, and maybe it was. Even if it was messing around, the guy was clearly legitimately trying to hole out.
He was trying to get it into the basket, and he managed to do so a couple times, but it still flew out of the basket. Oh, you just have to see it for yourself.
Yeah, you guys will have to find it. Sorry I don't have it handy. All right, Paul McBeth taking the weekend off. He's just posting on Instagram right now. He's probably watching the podcast like he loves to do, and he's saying he's making a post. Is this a slight at you? He says, finally cutting those few extra pounds. Feels good to be back. Didn't you post today that you feel like you put on a couple extra pounds? You're ready to trim?
No, I definitely did. And the last couple of weeks, my knee's feeling really good. I haven't had any little mishaps with it. And so I'm going to be getting back in the gym. And I posted on Facebook that I was going to be getting back in the gym, and I was going to let people know what I was going to do as far as dieting and working out and stuff, and for them to personally message me if they wanted to join in my efforts.
All right, I'm on board.
Yeah. Are you?
No, yeah. Let's do it. A little disclosure here.
Here it comes. Here's the...
Oh, boy. Oh, I can't
I'm
wait.
overweight. All right. We knew that. No, I've been going to the Wisconsin Athletic Club, the WAC, as it's referred to in Milwaukee area. I've been going a lot more than before. I've been going a few days a week. For a while, for a few weeks, it was 4 or 5 times a week. Obviously, now I'm gone 4 out of 6 days. This last week was the first time I didn't go in quite some time. I plan to then return next week. I've been going a lot more and haven't had a lot of success in terms of results. I've lost a few pounds. Obviously, I realize it's not just the workouts that you do. It's obviously the consumption that you do as well.
No more calzones.
Yeah, no more. Well, after this weekend. I'm just saying upper crust is just right over there. So it's been something that I've been serious about, and I think we all know that have seen it out there. Your true inspirations, your people like Jordan Castro, who has been putting himself out there and putting himself into the gym and doing the hard work, watching it pay off. It's very inspirational to see. And I think we have a number of golfers that have been talking about various posts about going out and just getting it done. It's been pretty awesome to see. So I've got a little more room to give than you do. But it's definitely something that I'm going to continue to try and work on here. This weekend, I should lose at least 20 pounds walking this course, for God's sakes. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Is your knee going to hold up?
Oh yeah, my knee feels great, like I
Okay.
said, and so like after my round today, I went straight to the gym and got another workout in, and so I'm working hard at it. And a lot of people message me, so thank you for reaching out for the people who do want to join me in this endeavor. And you know, I told them the same thing. It's not going to be a crazy regiment that I do of some, you know, you're not going to see me P90X and then doing jump ropes around the hotel room constantly, but I'm definitely going to make a conscious decision to, you know, salad instead of fries, yogurt instead of ice cream, stuff like that, and that stuff really does go a long way. I want to do a run every morning before I get my day going. I run, you know, 1 to 2 miles, and then right before I go to bed, I'll do 20-minute ab workout, 20-minute, you know, push-ups, whatever, body weights and stuff like that. So it's not going to be that difficult what I'm going to do. I live an active lifestyle, so it's not going to take a lot for me to get to my goal. I want to lose 12 pounds in the next couple of months. And yeah, so these people that are going to join me, it's going to be awesome. And I promised a before and after pic, so look out. I'm going to definitely spray paint, possibly. No, but all seriousness, I'm excited about it, and I'm glad a lot of people are interested in it also.
Okay, well, it's very cool, and again,
It's probably Paul actually got inspired by me.
That's what I was assuming. Yeah, he's watching the show. He saw your post earlier, and he just posted on Instagram a few minutes ago that he's cutting out those pounds, and he's thanking Hannah for putting up with the crazy hours and reluctant nights of no sleep. Number one and motivation on the brain. Hashtag shameless selfie.
That's Paul Macbeth. That's your 4-time world champion right there. That's what makes it happen, though. Getting in the gym and doing the little extra effort, that definitely goes a long ways.
Okay, so why isn't he here?
Just working out,
He's
man.
scared of you?
Yeah, he's not ready for the big heels and stuff. He's back in the gym right now. No, I think that he needed a break, and yeah, obviously he has other things on the mind right now, and probably getting ready for the Glassbone Open, which is a very big event that all of us want to win, and so I think a break is something that he does quite often these days.
Yeah, he definitely picks and chooses. I mean, you guys have almost opposite, very, very different mentalities when it comes to your golf seasons. He's now down to picking 18 to 20-ish events, and you can hammer out 30 or 40 in a year. Very different outlooks. Do you see that changing, or when do you see that changing for you?
Yeah, I mean, with age, obviously, I'm going to have to slow down. I'm not going to be able to play that many events. I think I don't plan on it changing anytime soon. This year, I wanted to cut down on the events, and I have already somewhat. I'm going to take a break after the Glassbone Open for 2 weeks, which is very rare for me to do, but I'm going to do it because I do think that it's important. One thing, last year when I broke my finger right at the World Championships, and I had to pull out of that tournament, and then a few tournaments leading after that, that break mentally was very helpful, and I ended up going to Europe and playing well, and then, or not Europe, going to the final in Vermont and playing very well and stuff, and so I can see how taking breaks can definitely help you, and so it's definitely on my mind for sure.
Okay.
But it's so fun to play every weekend.
Yeah, well, so I heard. 20 years ago.
You used to play a lot. You played 30, 40 tournaments.
I did. Back in college, a little more, definitely a little more than Johnny V, but between sanctioned and unsanctioned events were so much more a thing back then. There wasn't, literally dozens of sanctioned events all around the country or the Midwest. But I believe at one point in the peak of it, somewhere in the late 90s, I had played 40 plus weekends or 40 plus events, and that wasn't crazy. We very much had the mentality in Wisconsin, oh, there's not something going on in Wisconsin. Well, what's going on in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan? And for me to be in Michigan 4 to 6 to 8 weekends a year was very common. There was cracked plastics, and there was events over at Hudson Mills, and occasionally going over to Grand Rapids and all those areas, Battle Creek, and So yeah, I used to play a ton, and I certainly.
Oh, we might have lost some Terry here. I know that they have had some issues with their setup. I'm going to hang up on Terry and give him a call back so we can get that taken care of. I was just watching that video. Oh my God, was that funny? I felt so bad for that guy. It was... So the video that they were talking about is this guy at the Next Gen Tour who took like a 20, and finally he just, you know, I think someone told him just throw it upside down, because every time he tried to putt, and then like Uli hinted at, there was one point which he slammed the disc down in front of him and it kind of popped up and the wind just threw it. So I don't know what you do at that point. I would probably be so frustrated. So I didn't. Terry's saying that I lost them. I did not lose them. I think they lost me. I've got some pretty good internet here.
All right, are we back? Is that our internet or yours?
I'm gonna guess it's yours, but
it could be. Although, shout out to Jonesboro Inn and Suites with actually some of the best internet I've ever had at a hotel. This has actually been impressive. So, but anyway, it still could be us though. Who knows? Anyway, we were just rambling, talking about how we used to. I used to play. Johnny V, you used to play a lot more, not quite as much as me in terms of weekends, but we used to play a ton.
Now, quick question for you: do you think the fact that Macbeth and Ricky don't play as many events is because they don't want to hurt their rating, or do you think that it's a preference?
I think I'd further state that it's not so much they don't want to hurt their rating. I think they want to be very selective about where they play in terms of what's to gain from it. Are they playing against the best, which can, you know, have a side effect on ratings? Are they playing against the best, and is it going to yield a significant paycheck? And do they like the courses? They've earned those criteria to say, well, I don't need to play every weekend financially,
obviously,
but I'm going to play where I really enjoy playing, and that makes sense because
you see Paul playing at the beginning of the year, Pasadena. He plays that event every year. He's very vocal about liking the courses, and he wins every year by 20 strokes or whatever. But yeah. They're very selective about where they play these days.
They have been. And would you say that it's just the same for Ricky? Because I know Paul has been very much so. Is Ricky, do you feel like he's also getting very selective about where he's going?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, what was it, 2-3 years ago, Ricky was playing 40-plus tournaments. And now he's definitely cut that in half. But with him cutting that down to the 27 to 20 tournaments, he's also winning a lot more, and he's no longer Ricky, why so sucky.
Wow.
Well, he feels like he's probably honed it in, and with that concentration and with that rest and relaxation, he's able to be that much more fresher and dialed in for the events that he is playing. And Paul concerns himself with the majors and all the biggest events. It seems like right now, or some events he may have a tie to, or ones that make perfect sense, you know, your Pasadenas and so on and so forth. But he's definitely very selective.
And it's not that he's not doing something with disc golf. He's doing the Macbeth challenges, and I think they did 9 challenges or something while they were in Texas, something ridiculous. So he's working hard out there, and he's going. And he's definitely getting his name out there and pushing his brand and everything. So it's not like he's just taking a complete break.
Well, and here's a question that can't be answered, but think about him winning a given weekend event, whether it's in Texas or somewhere else in the South on this kind of Southern or Texas swing. He could win an event in a weekend, or he could put on, we'll just say 5 McBeast, or in I think his case 6 McBeast challenges. Ignore the finances. He certainly makes money on those, as does Nate, as should they.
Right.
There's money to be made on those, but maybe if you really think about it, what's going to increase his brand and his awareness more? winning another event, like every other weekend, but winning another event, or going out and personally interacting with literally over 1,000 amateurs that may never see them in their lifetime, otherwise see him. You know, if he averages 1 to 2 to 300 people at each of these beast challenges, and he has that personal interaction, and he may have just gained or secured another 1,000 fans for life. Right. And if each one of those people goes and buys 1 or 2 more discs when they're released with his name on them, there's some residuals that pay off in that way. So absolutely. I'm not going to fully dissect all of Paul's possible thoughts, but from a business and from a branding and a marketing perspective, you've got to spread yourself out that way.
And what he's doing is obviously working. I mean, he has to be the most popular disc golfer probably that's ever played at this point. It has to be right next to probably Avery, who's branded himself very well.
I would only say I would say Kenny second, but the only reason why Kenny is not in a clear cut first is because Kenny didn't have Facebook in 1990 or 1994. So when you're saying just popularity or
just
household,
wasn't as popular back then. Also.
Yeah, and household names. I guess one could make an argument depending on if you know Avery Jenkins versus Ken Climo. Let's say you picked up your very first disc a year ago. Right. You're more likely going to know Avery's. It depends on where you do your research, I guess. But
obviously Paul's the most popular.
Yeah. There's the other Paul, as you refer to him.
Right.
The other Paul.
Little Paul.
Little Paul.
When we first toured together, me and Derek called him Little Paulie for the longest time. So
understandable.
He'll always be Little Paul to me.
Johnny, any input on the most household or recognizable disc golfers we have?
I think you kind of nailed it, Terry. I think we got to go with Paul McBeth just because the size of the sport, and then after that, I think it's Climo, just because he's got his name on so many pieces of plastic. But you could make the argument right now that Ricky, there's just so much branding behind Paul.
Yeah, that was my point. What he's doing is working with the McBeast challenges and everything, and he's really putting himself out there and giving access that Climo really never did, and that I didn't see, especially when I was coming up in the sport. I didn't see a lot of Ken Climo challenges or things like that, or even he was involved with a few of the national tour clinics and stuff like that. But as far as like running events, I never seen him run an event or anything like that. So,
I mean, it depends.
Well, there is definitely.
I think it depends on how you define your popularity. I mean, if it's number of players, you could argue right now that Ricky is more popular than Kenny ever was, but the sport is bigger now. If you want to say,
Beth's been on ESPN like 10 times. I mean, it's not even going to be close. There's really, in my opinion, it's not even an argument.
No, there's number one's a clear cut Paul. My distinction would be: are you making the distinction? I guess you could look at it as a percentage. Where is Ricky more popular than Climo because of the number of players who know him, or do you put Climo up there because back in the day everybody wanted to be Climo? There was no Ricky. It was Climo. There was Barry kind of, but you toss it up based on the number of players playing the sport right now. But I think it's just hands down, Paul is the most. He's the face and the name that our sport sees right now. And after that, flip a coin. I mean, as far as history or current,
you could make a argument with Felberg also, making a lot of international travels and a lot of clinics and stuff. So I mean, like you said, you could flip a coin, but
Zot obviously would have to get mentioned in there. He already has the international brand recognition that everybody already knows him from basically anywhere overseas, and then he's gained so much likeness and fan base from here in the U.S. when he's been here. So
plus his trick shot videos have gotten an insane amount of views and stuff like that.
So let's recap on real briefly touch on, and Johnny, you didn't even see them. I'm guessing certainly over the weekend, but Jomez Productions ultimately assembled a couple of different pieces that were featured on ESPN this weekend. Big Germ right there in the mix, of course, not getting the ace himself, but watching others and giving the high fives.
I saw Sexton and a Macbeth thing, and I couldn't tell which one, because, again, I was on vacation. I couldn't tell if one or both made it on ESPN or if one was on just ESPN's website. You'll have to fill me in on that.
I believe both. Sexton had the forehand ace. Later the next day, I think Paul had a regular backhand ace that another gentleman, Chase, who was helping out with the Jomez crew, he had filmed. So those were 2 aces. I believe those were both on ESPN on actual Sports Center.
Yeah, one was number 6 and one was number 9.
Okay, and then there was I did. Was it Drew that aced as well? That Jeremy was on the card?
He aced
on the final day?
So he was with Sexton when he aced, okay? So the first round, and that got on ESPN. He then played the second round with John Perry. John Perry aced.
Okay.
And then the final round he played with Drew, and Drew raced. So his claim to fame was he finally did it, the trifecta. He got every single person that or every round that he played with somebody ace on his card. And so that was his last thing that he had to do. Honestly, though, it's getting to be ridiculous. It's actually now it is 100% bizarre. And I don't even understand it, because it has to be 10 out of the 12 that have been on ESPN, or however many it is, has Jeremy on the card.
I would think Discraft's probably going to sue him when Big Germ's like, come to my ace race this weekend, just be on my card. Discraft's like, no, ace race is our term. You can't use that, Big Germ. But seriously.
It's bizarre.
It is.
It's really
And yet
weird.
It's never him.
It's not. And that's what's so weird about it is it's like, he's always right there giving the high. He's the first person that you see that doesn't hit the ace. I don't get it, man. Whatever he's doing, I hope I play with him.
I was going to say, you need to be in more of his cards. Very few aceable holes out here this weekend. Right. But there are a few picturesque ones, hole 6 being one of them with hay bales behind it. Almost, I was shocked looking at Udisc how many people had 2'd it today. Like a ton of people took the birdie 2 on it. And
with the right wind, I think hole 1 is aceable. It's had that backdrop behind it.
Yeah, okay.
And I was
You're gunning hard.
And
You're throwing it hard.
Drew make some pretty close ace runs on it in practice and stuff, and I just feel like for some reason that's popping out.
And that's 460, 450,
uphill,
slightly uphill, with a.
But the way that the tee pad is and the way the fairway shape, it's kind of making you throw right at it. So if you have the power, which there's only a handful of guys who actually have the power to do it.
Okay, well, there it is. Guaranteed this weekend you're going to see one here on SmashBoxxTV.
Maybe Jerm will get his first ESPN moment for himself.
Hush.
Isn't that silly?
Let's be real.
I know. I'm stupid. I know. Why did I say that?
Yes, Big Germ did have. He had one funny comment this last weekend. I saw him post when Paul got the ace during the second round. He said something along the lines of Paul aced, but I wasn't on the card, so does it even count? And that I'll give him credit for. That was a good one. So, Johnny, is there anything else that we haven't covered? I'm trying to take a look at the board. I before you answer, I'll say Miles Parkhill of Paragon, huge supporter of everything we do, said that every shirt bought, we send a shirt to Costa Rica. So Miles must be working with someone in a charitable effort, but he's saying for every shirt bought, we send a shirt to Costa Rica. So very awesome to see in here. Miles over at Paragon. I'll have to get more details of exactly what that means, but I did want to pass that word along. Seems pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds great. I don't know anything about that.
Seems great though. Sending free shirts to Costa Rica.
Are you doing?
I doubt they're tank tops.
Are you doing a giveaway today?
Yeah, we'll do a giveaway.
I can always donate something myself. I would love to.
And where could they find more stuff if they wanted to buy from you and support you?
Why would you even ask?
I don't know. I was just thinking they should find stuff to buy from you. Where could they do that?
Ulistore.com has all my stuff there. Discs, shirts, some hats, new pair of sunglasses just came out, signature pair. Where are yours at? Did you?
I wore them all. No. I wore them all day today. They're here somewhere, probably over there on the bed. But I wore them all day today. I won a pair of your sunglasses via the Facebooks, a little competition there.
So
and I love them.
Let's do a giveaway for a pair of those Uli shades.
Uli shades. So there you go.
Johnny D, come up with a trivia for.
Or we could do just our regular our Patreon giveaway. Either or, there, Johnny. Or do you want to do a separate giveaway?
I don't mind either way.
All right, I'm gonna. Dare I say I'm gonna come up with a giveaway?
Okay.
Let me do. All right, here it is. The question of the day for a pair of Uli shades. As always, we're using YouTube to go ahead and answer this, and whatever I see coming on my YouTube page is the official response. So gives you guys an incentive to tune in on YouTube. We appreciate it if you're watching on Facebook or any other method, or you're listening to this a few days later. But the official method for response is going to be via YouTube, as it always is. And the question is, how many birdies did Paul Ulibarri card today during this opening round? How many birdies did Paul Ulibarri card? He shot even par, so there's a lot of trickiness to that. But how many birdies did Paul Ulibarri card today in his round? Kurt, you nailed it. This was an easy one. Well, lots of good guesses out there, and Kurt's the first and only to guess it at first. So reach out to us, Kurt, smashbox.tv/winners, and fill it out, and we'll make sure to get Paul Ulibarri here has graciously donated a pair of his Uli shades, and we appreciate it. Yeah. And a little while from now, we'll also be doing our Patreon giveaway, where I've got some stuff from this last weekend that I'd love to give away. But nice. Kurt, the correct answer was 6. And how did I know that? Our friends at udisclive.com. So 6 birdies. Some other over pars.
6 bogeys.
Little cleanup tomorrow.
Yeah.
Little cleanup.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of blue tomorrow.
Okay. Lots of blue. What time are you teeing off?
It's got to be early.
About an hour.
In an hour.
I got to go to bed. I'm not so sure. I play with Austin Turner. That's all I know. Okay.
And I watched Austin play today. He really struggled on hole 16. He struggled there a little bit. I guess he kind of sort of technically took a par there, depending on what if that's rated as or marked as a par 5. Ultimately, I think he parred, but he was just a little bit off today. He had a few putts that didn't go his way. Saw Devin Owens throwing a monster shot that I want to get edited and put together. He took the birdie on hole 2 from like 80 feet. I was even second guessing like the angle. I wasn't in a great position, and I was filming, and then I turned, and yeah, this huge throw in. And there was a couple other really great shots. James Conrad, like I said, and Dave Felberg to round out that card. So it was a lot of good stuff out there.
Well, make sure that Austin does well. Give him some props. I have him on my fantasy picks this week with McRae, Lizotte, and Wysocki. So help him out a little bit.
Yes.
Give him that Uli bump.
Are you guys trying to figure out his tee time? Because someone says 11. Someone says 9:30. Someone says 12:45. Someone says 12.
I think I'm going to use. I think I'm going to look it up myself, guys.
Yeah, 12:45 seems to be the consensus, but I would not trust these guys. 12:45.
See you guys there.
Yeah.
Seems like these guys are playing fantasy.
Yeah.
They didn't pick me.
I wasn't about to jinx. It's funny you say that, Johnny, that you have Austin Turner in your picks. He was one of my picks this weekend too. And sometimes I go up to the players and say, hey, no added pressure. I know I'm filming, but you're also in my fantasy, so don't F it up.
I'm in my fantasy picks this week, so Austin has me by a stroke. So now I know if I at least beat him, I'm gaining 2 points on both.
That's to say, but we might have picked you.
No, I hope not, for your sake.
Oh, okay. Jeremiah says just start winning and we'll pick you.
No, I thank you. Actually, I never.
You never thought of that?
Wow. Who is this guy?
Jeremiah. He's active
I
on the
need to-
board.
yeah, I need to
He
get
sometimes
his
has some
number.
clever things and
I
sometimes
need
not.
to get his number.
But
He has
Jeremiah.
great ideas.
Oh well, let's get into the after show real quick because I have a question for Yuli about fantasy and players in general.
Okay, so let's officially wrap this up. We'll have a little bit of extra fodder in the after show before we call it a night here. So, got to thank Paul Ulibarri, who graciously donated a pair of Uli shades and sat in here tonight. We'll check in with him a little bit in the after show. I want to thank Johnny V for running the controls back in Milwaukee. I want to thank all of you guys for postponing your Tuesday night action 48 hours to joining us here on Thursday night. It's been a lot of fun. We're glad we could do it. Coming in after one round of this event has been perfect. You may see me do something tomorrow night in addition on site at one of the party festivities out there. We're working on that, so you might see something else on my channel tomorrow. But so for Yuli, for Johnny V, myself, Chairman of the Disc Golf Guy, all our amazing Smashies out there, stick around. We'll have an after show starting up in just a few moments. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thanks, Disc Golf Nerd, as well. Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the video credits. If you're interested in being listed as a producer on SmashBoxxTV's podcast, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. All right. So we're back.
Everyone, and
We're going to talk together.
We're back and
all
we're
back.
All right.
Everybody's
All
back
right, you know.
today. It's so hard being remote and the Skype. There's been a little bit of delay, and half the time, like if you guys are talking, Skype takes your priority, and then I'll try to chime in, and you won't hear me, and so I'll chime in again, and then I'll chime in a third time, and finally you hear me, or you're just ignoring me twice, which I don't blame you, but
Those Skypes.
it's the Skypes. So my
welcome
question,
back, everyone. It's just to clarify here, we're here in the after show, podcast 139. Paul Ulibarri is here in our hotel studio in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Johnny V's back at the controls in Milwaukee, and I'm pantsless.
Yep.
All right, what do you got, Johnny?
So, do you see? We've been talking about players, and next year for fantasy, I'm talking about having like an alternate player, so in case someone doesn't show up. But do you see disc golfers starting to get, or do you see them maybe becoming more frustrated with players not showing up to events that are registered, treating our players more like a commodity these days, as we just literally we're turning you guys into stats and numbers, and kind of like other sports are? And I think we talked about this, not necessarily with you, but maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, the more that happens, it means the bigger the sport's getting and the more activity that's going along with the fantasies and the shows and the podcasts and the statistics and everything like that. So eventually that's really where it has to go.
Well, I'll say a few weeks ago when we were at Nick Hyde, I had gently or politely said to Madison Walker, "Hey, Madison, there's some people getting mad at you that here you are withdrawing." And, she takes it all with a grain of salt because she's injured, and we all know the importance of that. But I said, some of the fantasy disc golfers out there. She's like, oh, because I think it was the second week in a row she had withdrawn at that point, and she's like, I'm the Adrian Peterson of disc golf, and she was all, and I thought that was a pretty funny reference, that she stuck with it. And then literally minutes later, Zach Melton, I think she relayed to Zach Melton, yeah, some of the, the fantasy, leagues out there are getting frustrated with me. And then Zach said the exact same thing. He said, yeah, you're the Adrian Peterson of disc golf. So it's funny that people are looking at you guys in some other light, rather than just what you're scoring and seeing you play and where you place on the podium, but thinking about you. Where are you going? What kind of course is it? Are you currently, as you said earlier, trending up? Are you trending down? I think it was Ultra World that had made a comment or had a conversation about who's good value picks, and I think that's something they do frequently. I think you say, Johnny. So it's getting kind of serious out there, and everybody's invested for different reasons. I just want to win the $20, the $20 league, but there's a lot of mental investment there.
Oh yeah, lots of.
Are the players going to start getting mad? I mean, we see the people, maybe are going to get frustrated with some players. If like a Simon who was on the pre-reg for whatever reason, whether it was a TD or him, and then pulling out a week or a couple days ahead of time, are the players going to start getting frustrated at the fans when people are writing articles like, oh hey, guess what? Stay away from Uli because he's kind of on a cold streak, for the past week or two. So definitely don't pick that guy or something along those lines.
No, that's what needs to happen. Like I said, I would not be mad if somebody wrote an article like that, because it's
every
true.
week.
Yeah, I mean, if they're saying something negative about me, so be it. As an athlete, I have to focus on what I'm doing and my process, what I do as a player, and what somebody writes about me. If that's going to get in my head, then I'm not in the position that I need to be in. So, just like, Steph Curry, people can say whatever they want about him. Do you think that he's really listening to all the tweets about him missing the 3-pointers or whatever, or him not having the year that he did last year? So that means the Warriors are going to lose the championship. Like, that just comes with being a professional athlete, and eventually, hopefully, it is like that. Because I'm sorry, but what these guys say really doesn't affect me. What was his name? Jeremiah?
Jeremiah said you should just start winning, so you could get.
So
picked
that was
more.
good. Yeah, he had good advice.
The other people, not
I've
so
had
much.
a guy message me and say, "You're really killing me with this fantasy. I will never pick you again." And I messaged him back. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying. He goes. He said something that wasn't very nice, and he was serious, 100% serious. So it was funny to have that interaction, but I get it. I mean, last week I had some bets on the Masters, and I picked Sergio. Was one of my bets, and so he missed his 3-footer, and I'm sitting there, I'm saying awful things to the TV screen, awful things. And that's just the way it is. Like, I have people that I watch play, like in basketball, I have people that I watch play, and I go, oh, I hate that guy, or I don't like the way, oh, I can't stand him. I don't know him. I'm a fan, though. I'm allowed to say that because I'm watching them. I'm allowed to have the people that I like to watch, and I'm allowed to have the people that I don't like to watch. And that's just the way it is. Now, if I met that guy, I'm sure that I wouldn't be like, hey, man, I hate you. Butler, you're the worst. You're such a dick on the course when you're out there, or you're on the court. Like, that's just the way it is. As fans, that's
Well, and again, me not being a big fantasy sports player of really any kind ever, I know from listening to a sports radio show back in Milwaukee for many years, one of the conversation that continues to kind of recycle over and over is does some of the fantasy sports out there, do you see people get a little bit more worked up about it because you're cheering for individuals and maybe not necessarily teams? How weird is that when you're cheering for an individual guy, like in a fantasy football, you want a guy to go get a touchdown, but he's playing against, who's maybe your favorite
team or
team
something,
from your childhood, and like you're so conflicted, like who am I cheering for and why? And it's like ripping, I don't know, ripping, it can rip your emotions in a bunch of different directions.
Absolutely. That happens all the time, to where you'll have, like, when I do my fantasy football, most of my teams are a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers. Luckily, over the last few years, the Steelers have been awesome as far as fantasy points.
Okay.
With Big Ben and Bell and Brown. But there's always that time where I picked Cam Newton in one of my things, in one of my fantasy leagues this year. And I promised myself I would never draft him again. He dug me such a hole.
Okay.
He was the number one quarterback the year before, as far as fantasy points. And then like I said, as a fan, I was like, I can't stand Cam Newton. I'll never watch another game. But I bet if I met Cam Newton, he's probably a pretty cool guy. So
sure,
that's just the way it is, man, with sports, and hopefully it'll be like that.
I mean, let's take this one step further and think about just the sheer blind fanboyism and or unnecessary or impractical brand loyalty we even have here in disc golf. The guy that says, I love Prodigy, I only throw Prodigy, right. Prodigy's the best. No, I'm not sponsored, I'm rated 805, but I love Prodigy, they're the best product, and I'm glad he thinks that and believes that, and that's awesome. But then when he gets to an event, who does he pick? Right. Maybe you're not there, maybe you're trending downward, and you're the top rated Prodigy player there. And then does he or she have to go out and be like, oh, God, I love Prodigy, but I got to take Lazat, damn it. Like, there's, again, some of those internal conflicts I know are taking place. You may not like someone personally, but they might be the best possible pick for that week. And I'll say I've come into that situation. Yeah. So it's
a whole new world we're entering into with the fantasy and all the media and the statistics and everything, and it's awesome. Now people get to know the true story about what's going on, how we're getting the scores that we're getting, and that's really what we need in order to start building bigger fan bases for the players and
reasons to root for people or root against.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have a huge advantage over the rest of the Skip Ace page? The Emacs who's not out here playing week in and week out, but you are. Do you have advantages of, I was at the course on Tuesday with Simon Lizotte, and I know he got stung by a bee on his right throwing hand and stuff like that. Does that give you a huge advantage that you don't translate well with, or no?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I think that in any fantasy, it's pure luck, honestly. I mean, you're going to pick the Ricky and the Paul Beth and then the Katrina and the Paige Pierce, and then after that, it's a toss-up, and it has been the whole entire season.
Okay.
I think the course can play into it a little bit if you're looking at, a course like, we'll say like a Blue Valley or something along those, something that's a huge hucker course where you might have Eagle a little bit more favored or Simon a little more favored than say your Barry Schultz or someone along that line. But I think you're right. I think all these guys have such the skills that they can all compete on any given weekend. It's just a matter of who's a little more consistent.
Yep.
Well, and I think a lot of us are always, I mean, depending on who's at an event, we're always kind of trying to outsmart the next guy and play on that sleeper or that dark horse, Austin Turner at 10:10 or 10:06 or whatever he is, 10:12. Not everyone's like, opens up the browser and is like, oh, clearly Austin Turner's who I need, that he's not your first pick. But when you start massaging the data and you start trying to manipulate those point structures, then you're like, okay, yeah, I've got 1,010 points and here's 5 guys. I'm going to take my chance on Austin, and when it could have been somebody else rated the exact same, but something in you says, well, I want this particular individual.
And a lot of people, like we were saying earlier, trend, and they have a good start, and then they have another one, and then all of a sudden they're there for a few weeks, and they have a couple bad weeks. I mean, the sport's definitely streaky. as far as that goes also.
So speaking of streaks, I think it's still intact. With some loyal fan, viewer, or listener, I think I have an ongoing $100 bet for the 2017 season that Macbeth wouldn't finish outside the top 10 at any event.
$100.
Yeah, whether I was babbling on and on a podcast one night, and I said I will throw down $100 that he won't finish outside the top 10 at any event this year that he's competing in.
Wow.
You think that's a dumb bet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because it's so frequent that he does that, or?
Hey, he'll do it once a year, I'm sure.
Okay.
Ricky and him, it's hard. That's a hard thing to do. Obviously.
I agree.
That's been one of my careers to have a top 10 season to where I get top 10 in every event.
Mm-hmm.
I messed it up my second event this year, so it's easy for me to give up on my hopes and dreams. But but I think he did do it last year?
No, he Minnesota.
USDGC.
Yeah, and Minnesota. I believe it was 2 tour events. Minnesota. What's his number? 27532 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
27 something. There was like 2 events where he'd finished. He finished in 12th. Yeah. And so I realized it was kind of a bold statement. Plus, I think 20th or something like that, technically at USDGC. So I knew what I was saying when I said it, but I don't see that happening. I think so. So far this year, he's got a third, a first, a second, a first, and a first, and then coming off Texas State's where he took a second.
It takes one bad round, and that's 10 spots. So
okay,
I think that I don't think it'll be more than 1 or 2. But I do think that if I were to bet on it, I would bet yes. Out of 20, however many tournaments he plays.
Yeah, so last year he competed in 20 events. I guess National Tour doesn't, the series payout didn't count. So we'll call it 19 events. He finished 12th at the 2 of the Pro Tour stops, the Vibram and the Majestic. And then he finished 20th at the German DGC, shortened USDGC. He finished 20th there. So, and every other event was first or second for the most part. So, all right. Well, my bet's still intact is really my point here. And speak of trends and streaks and whatnot, that'd be quite the task.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move over to the board here briefly. And there's a lot of conversation.
Hey,
Danny,
Terry, let's do the
Lindo
Patreon
is out there
giveaway.
talking about. What's that?
Let's do the Patreon giveaway right away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. So what you're going to get is I have a sweet package that I'll put together that will come from the Skyline Classic this weekend, including at least one autographed item that comes from Nate and Val, and I'll get that sent out to you when I return home next week. But there'll probably be a couple different items in there that I'll put together as a package that comes from the Skyline Classic from this previous weekend that were autographed by Nate and Val. So they signed a few things graciously on Sunday night. We kind of hammered out a whole bunch of signatures, so we'd have some things for giveaways and other fundraisers, and so I'll be able to do just that. So, sweet. Johnny, you want to pull up the numbers?
I did already. So we've got 119 people in our list currently, and
am I in?
I don't think you're a supporter for our Smashbox.
I think I am.
Okay.
I don't
For sure.
Okay.
Let me look.
Yuli could win it. That would be awesome.
There we go. Yuli could win it. All right, so we have 119. I'm going to generate a random number right here. I'm looking at number 76. 76. All right, I've got the player. Terry, can you guess what letter their name starts with? At 76.
It's definitely P.
M. Not PM Dawn, but M. M. It's Mike Cullerton. Mike Cullerton?
Mike's already.
Mike always wins.
I don't care.
Mike has won.
Man.
I don't care. Congratulations,
Okay.
Mike. You win twice. That's the advantage. There is no limit. The only thing that we usually say is nothing. You can keep winning. The more people that join, the less likely you are to win. The less people that are in here, the more likely you are to win. I think that's how that statistics things work. So congratulations to Mike Cullerton.
Mike's on the board. He says, I won already.
Good for
Mike, you're a winner in life. Woot.
Good for
he
you.
says. Thanks for being a Patreon supporter. We appreciate it.
That's right.
So that's how that works. We have over 100 people in there. Is that correct?
119.
119, and we've sent out roughly
one a week.
15-ish. Okay, and Mike gets it done. Mike, get that lottery ticket hot and ready for Saturday night. Go buy a lottery ticket, buddy.
This gas station right here.
I
went over there last night.
Casey's General Store or something?
The Casey's General Store. Went in there.
Not a sponsor of the show. This is not a plug for them unless they sponsor up.
They need a sponsor. Me and Drew bought $10 scratcher, split it 50-50, and we were scratching. We lost. Whatever.
Okay.
But the lady told us that a guy 2 days ago won 150 grand at that store, and the year before also won 150 grand.
Same guy?
Scratch.
It's 150.
They have scratchers for 150 grand.
$150,000.
Dang.
How lucky do you have to be? So, Mike, go buy yourself a ticket.
Yes.
And then donate it all to Smashbox if you want.
Mike, it's awesome. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. So very cool. All right. So some of the hot conversation on the board comes from Danny Lindell and some of his followers. I think he's out here trying to drum up followers from our page now. Danny puts out a ton of great videos and is so helpful in his instructional videos and the explanations that he gives. And I think the conversation is now talking about Snap. And I'm not talking about Snappy Cole, who I believe you can get lessons from now. I think I saw that on the Facebooks or something. What are Yuli's observations and experiences with Snap?
With Snap, what is it? See, I don't think Snap
Can you increase it?
I don't think Snap is necessarily a good thing. I think Snap is drag on the disc. And so when you hear that pow, that's not necessarily a good thing. If you watch Macbeth, Ricky, the best Felberg, the best throwers in the world, you won't hear that. You will a little more with like people who power grip like myself with like mid-range. I have a lot of pop on my mid-range, but that's because I'm power gripping. Most people fan grip and then you won't have that snap. As far as drivers, when I throw drivers, if I hear that snap, it's usually not a good shot. It usually comes more of like a sound than a snap sound. So in my opinion, I don't think snap's very good. So when you hear that kid at the course who has that super pop, that's actually drag, and that's taking away from, in my opinion, the spin and how he's throwing.
Okay, punch him in the face. Stop doing it.
Yeah.
Snap out of it. So what, when people talk about snap, and then maybe this is where they're leading or not, we'll go right into the conversation of spin. Can you put more spin on the disc? Are you consciously doing anything where you're like, all right, I'm really going to spin this one. I got a big rainbow to make. I'm really going to spin this one. Like what?
No, there's definitely, I don't know, it's kind of a hard thing to explain, but I don't think I consciously think about putting more spin on it. Obviously, if I have a headwind, I'm going to make sure to put a little bit more spin on maybe a putter or something, so I don't get that wobble, and then a bit more likely for the wind to affect.
And by spin, do you just really mean actually force or effort?
Not necessarily. I think just trying to like put a little more spin on. I don't know, like right at the end. You can have softer shots, obviously nose up and stuff, and then the faster you're gonna throw it, the more spin you're gonna put on. Okay.
All right. You got all that, Johnny? Is that what you do? How much spin do you put on?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Call him Johnny Spinny.
Yes, they did.
Didn't they?
Johnny Spinny V.
It's Johnny Spin that V.
Good night, Zach. Thanks for tuning
in.
Yuli is really holding back the guffaws.
The guffaws.
Guffaws. I'm not familiar with that term. At Terry's Cheese. More spin equals more glide, someone says. The wrist is loaded when you create the power pocket and it naturally unfolds. Danny, you got your own phrasing. Where's your book? You get a book out there. So
the power pocket.
The power pocket. I don't know all of your references, Danny, but I know you put a ton of energy and effort into explaining things for people, so I'm gonna go with that. Marcus says my 12-year-old daughter has lots of snap when we play. Is that from gripping the disc too tight?
Not necessarily gripping the disc too tight, but it's the timing from when you're coming into like your hit zone.
Is that before or after your power pocket?
Right before your power pocket.
Okay.
No, I don't know what a power pocket is. But I think, like I said, the snap is coming from it ripping out of your hand instead of it just kind of coming out. So
Okay.
yes, I think that possibly gripping it a little tight, but it's more of it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how all that works. I just know that when I hear the pop, I usually grip lock it, and when I don't, I usually throw it really good.
Fair enough. We'll move on because, as Danny, I think, has probably said here on the board, it's really tough sometimes to talk about these concepts when you're just talking about them. And if you don't have actual visuals or specifics to back it up, it's really tough to kind of just explain.
It really has to do with your whole body working with itself and then getting the right timing for your throw.
And maybe that kind of answers your question here, Danny. You said, ask Yuli what the top 3 things are you focus on during your drive. So you kind of just mentioned timing.
Timing, yeah, that's it. That's the only thing that I really focus on during
angle of release.
Oh yeah, depending on the shot.
Sure.
That kind of comes with it, but
and then you're just hoping big germs in the cart on the group behind you.
The number one thing
you're working on this year
is to make sure germ is on the cart.
That there, folks, is your pro tip. All right. Am I allowed to give Paulie crap about his round? Mill Dog asks.
Of course.
Anything for you, Mill Dog. I think you're definitely allowed to.
Is he one of our patrons?
He probably is. We know he's a super nice guy.
You give me as much crap as you want then, Mike.
That sounds like some motivational speaker charging $100 a pop. Timing the release versus forcing the release, opposite of rounding. Lots of conversation I'm reading through. That's why Dan says, that's why I hate when I hear say, did you hear his snap? Start throwing right-handed, Mill Dogs. Suggestions are for you. Johnny, anything else from a production side that we should talk to people about this weekend? I think we're pretty dialed in. The times this weekend, I think we're shooting for 3 o'clock, and 1:30. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, that does sound right. Yeah.
I hope not.
It is. Well.
Is there a cut? Does anybody know? Is there a cut? Cut this
I don't
weekend?
think so.
Looks like 3 o'clock, and 1:30.
Another weather.
There might be a cut on the 4th round. I got a long drive home, so okay. No, I mean I want to be out there for you guys the whole time. That'd be great. I'm looking through the scores to see if there's anything else that's noteworthy. But yeah, that's the plan. I think we kind of covered everything that was going to be taking place. Yuli, when you teach new people, how do you teach aim, as in transitioning through the throw to aiming to a specific point? I see lots of people that throw in random places.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff has to do with where they're running up, getting them online with their run up.
And by that, you mean some people start, say, in the bottom right corner and move to the upper left corner, or some people start straight on, or some people start in the right, bottom left, and move to the upper right. You know, there's positioning your body on the tee makes a big difference. If you're trying
to throw a straight shot, you're going to want to run straight at it. If you're going to try to throw a hyzer, you're going to want to run towards your hyzer line. Stuff like that. There are so many. When I teach people, I really like to get hands-on. I really like to work with that individual because so many bodies are different. So many people work in completely different ways. And so it's tough to do it over something like this, like we mentioned before.
Of course, yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. So.
And Cool One asked, and we already know the answer, but we'll put it out there. If you do clinics or one-on-one lessons for a fee, and a somewhat of a substantial part of your off season in the past has been doing just that. When you're in Arizona and whatnot, you've put in a lot of time and effort working with other individuals that are interested in getting a private lesson or a set of lessons from you, and you foresee doing that probably in quite a few of the off seasons?
Oh yeah, of course. I give lots of lessons in the off season. It's one of the things I enjoy the most. And I do charge my whatever the fee it is. And if you guys are interested, you can always Facebook me if I'm coming through your town. I'm always interested if I have time to giving an hour lesson here and there. So.
And there's he's mentioned there's a discount if you're already wearing a pair of Uli shades when you get to his lesson. There's a slight discount for that because you already have supported you.
Absolutely.
So there's a good discount for that. And Ronald says you should watch Uli's older video on upshots. It helped me shave strokes off my scores. So.
Yeah, that's also on YouTube. I think I did that in Utah, and I've had a lot of people mention that and tell me that it really helped them. So it's helping people, so get out there and check that out for sure.
All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping it up. I don't know if there's any other questions that can come in off the board. You've got another minute or two to do so. Dan Stevens has a shout out from Tucson. That's his login at least. So Dan says hello from Tucson. So if you got anything else, make sure you get in right away. Otherwise, we're going to start wrapping up here as we're pushing midnight here in the Central Time Zone. One other question I had: Have you played golf before in Arkansas?
One time, I played the Arkansas State Championships, 2009.
Okay.
2009, and it was a Southern Nationals event.
Okay.
I actually ended up tying for first with Jared Pennington, and we split the money. We split $2,500 plus whatever second place was. He took the check, I took the trophy, and they gave us a huge check.
Okay, so that was the memento.
Yep, and so that was the only other time that I've been to Arkansas.
So 1 for 1.
1 for 1, and Drew gave me a great idea. He said I played so bad today that it might be a good idea to just head over to Illinois and play the Rumble.
Wow, because it starts tomorrow. Wow,
so
that's
right
sweetheart.
after this, I'm going to be driving.
Yeah, you've got about 12, no, probably only about 9 hours to get up there from here, 8 or 9 at most.
Joke's on him, though, because he won't have a ride, so.
That's a good call. Any jokes you're going to play on him tonight? Like, will you walk in and strangle him with a pillow or anything? Or throw some water on him, maybe?
Oh, man, we definitely get on each other's nerves sometimes. There's been some pretty big pillow fights, wrestle matches. Yeah, don't get excited, Johnny.
I was just gonna say some disc golf pillow fights.
I just chuckled. There's a connotation and a funny thought that goes along with that. Like, yeah, disc golf pillow fights.
One more time, William asks, where do I get on the supporters list, and where? Sorry, let me read it. Oh. And where do I get Uli shades? Give yourselves another shameless plug. So, in terms of supporting our podcasting, you certainly can go to Patreon. That's patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. While you're there, there's also /the disc golf guy. Uli here is a supporter of us. We appreciate it. So those are ways you can go out. Jomez is out there. Central Coast is out there. If you want to support people making content that's free, you can go out and find a lot of different levels and ways that you can support any one of us or all of us. And then Uli, you can check it out on ulistore.com. So ULISTORE.com. Ulistore.com. And
yeah, a dollar goes a long ways for you guys. $1 goes a long ways.
Dollar bills, yo.
For all the filming that's going on, they do a lot of hard work. So definitely support everybody that you can, even if it's $5.
Well, we appreciate it. It looks like Andreas Otesteg has taken advantage of the super chat feature, which means if you want something to show up for sure on our super chat, all you have to do is go ahead and click on the little $sign, and then you enter an amount, and it sends a super chat. So we're guaranteed to see it. It's huge, massive letters. You'll probably all see it. He sent us here. He or she sent us 200
Swedish krones.
Swedish krones was my guess.
A krona.
Just right now, just sent us 200 Swedish krones, and that's another possible way to support us. So we appreciate it very much. Thank you, Andreas. That's very kind. We've had a few of those now.
What is that, $20?
Yeah,
I'm guessing 200 Swedish krones is at least $10,000 US. No, Johnny, did you do
200?
You did the conversion already?
I did the conversion. It's $22 actually, $22.
Awesome.
So good conversion, Yuli.
Thank you from my trips to Sweden.
Yeah, $22.12. So we appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you
very much.
So those are ways you guys can go out and support. Carver says Paige Pierce is your idol. I don't blame you. She's better than most golfers on the planet.
Yep.
Smashbox does have a little bit of gear. I just got some new T-shirts. We just got sport sacks. I don't have them in front of me, but we just got sport sacks after this last weekend. I've got some towels. We've got a few discs. Reach out to me on Facebook, and you're going to see some of it all posted on Facebook. So thank you very much.
Also, I will be doing a blog on my Yuli store once a week for the next, I guess I'm not going to, maybe 1 week. I am going to be doing it once a week for written.
That's a challenge. Do you like to write?
No.
Yeah, see, I'm just going to warn you. It's a challenge. That's why I got lazy and went right to video.
Well, me and my brothers were talking about it, and it was either video or that, but it's tough to upload the YouTube and everything onto the site, or no? Is that?
No, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
No, I would love
super
to.
easy.
Maybe I'll do both and just get super.
Just let me know. I would be honored to help you out if you want to do something to get it to YouTube instead.
Yeah, I'll probably do the YouTube.
There you go. Danny Lindell. Power Pocket is a thing and just donated $2. So thank you, Danny. We appreciate
Trending.
it. I've heard the term Power Pocket before, so
I wasn't in disc golf though. So parting question.
We better keep talking. They're donating money.
What do you think the Bulls' chances are? That's a question coming in for you. What do you think the Bulls' chances are?
Who are they playing first round? Are they playing? They got to be playing the one. Are they the 8 seed? They got to be playing
Milwaukee Bucks.
Are they playing?
No, I have no idea.
Boston?
Chicago. That's
honestly, I don't think Boston's for real. So I think if they actually play Boston first round, I think they actually do have a chance to take that game deep. I don't know if they'll get out of the first round, but.
Yep, Boston, starting on Sunday, April 16th, game 1.
So I just don't think that Boston's for real, like I said. But they have literally the #1 record in their division over the Cavs
and the Bucks, who are in it.
So you guys have the Bucks in there again.
That's right.
That's really cute.
I'll admit I don't care. And when the Bulls,
if they get to the semifinals to
the Bucks,
like that,
I still unfortunately won't.
Really?
No,
what about you, Johnny?
I'll pay attention. I went to a Bucks game this year. I try to get to about one a year. I went with a family, and it's hard not to. I mean, we've got some really awesome young talent, and some of these guys. You know, Giannis is he's a beast, and he's fun to watch, and he seems like he's a pretty.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's not one of those guys.
Oh, my fantasy, dude, he worked me over.
He's one of those guys that you look at and watch him play, and you think it's hard to look at him and like you hate him because he's not a big loudmouth. He's not a braggart, anything like that. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm obviously rooting for the Bucks. I can't even honestly say that I'm a huge fan in general of basketball, but I do get to go to a game and I do pay attention. So. Go Bucks.
All right, well, shut up, Johnny, because Tired of Crap logged in and just donated as well in our Super Chat feature. Man, I'm liking this Super Chat feature more and more. So thank you. We appreciate it, man. He says, I love Smashbox. Well, we love you as well. Appreciate it. Carver G asked, Yuli loves Prodigy. Yeah, you partly own Prodigy, do you not?
I do. Yes, I love Prodigy.
What's worth more now?
Okay.
The Yuli stock in Prodigy or the amount of losses United Airlines taken in their stock since beating people on their planes?
Oh my gosh, that was awful.
You're doing good. All right, he's in a good position.
Not just beating people on their planes. Did you hear what the newest thing was? A scorpion fell out and stung somebody on a United plane.
A scorpion fell out
of
the sky
of the scorpion cage.
Some sort of baggage thing. I think he was in someone's bag and it opened up. It fell out and it like stung somebody.
That has nothing to do. I mean, unfortunately, it has nothing to do with United.
I am so
but
glad
it is bad karma.
I'm just saying, like, that doesn't even at all reference a United person in the fact that like it goes through TSA, which is not specific.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, and that's just because any moron, any 10-year-old could have been trying to sneak a scorpion on, and that could have been got.
Uh-oh, Terry, we're losing you. We're losing Terry. Terry. Yeah, so that's what I saw this weekend was United. Doing a lot of traveling, I saw that we had I had a chance to sit down and relax, but I wasn't going to pay a lot of money for internet access at all these different places because it was like $90 for a gig of internet. So I only got a little bit of news. So, and Terry, as you were saying, it's not necessarily United's fault, but it's still bad. It's just bad.
It's bad timing.
It's
and
bad
luck.
timing.
Yeah, it's bad timing.
I don't want to get beat up on a plane.
No.
Correct. And Yuli, you were just explaining that when you went overseas, you carried your disc golf bag last year, and you had a blade with you, and it wasn't picked up here, so to speak. But once you were trying to return, is that when it was?
No, I left it. I didn't even want. I put it in my actual
carry
bag.
Or your regular check bag.
It made it through from here onto the plane. And then when I got there and I was on the course, I'm like, wait, what? How is this? Whoa! Like,
you got through. Yeah. Well, I don't know, but that's why you guys should fly Southwest. The unofficial wannabe sponsor of the Disc Golf Guy and Smashbox TV is Southwest Airlines.
I flew Southwest twice this weekend or this past week, and both times were phenomenal. I was fortunate enough to. I feel almost. We were sitting there checking in, and I got as Southwest, you check in a day prior. We were at the amusement park. It popped up. I didn't notice. I got back to the hotel, checked us all, the whole fam in. We were in the C section. So you're like, ugh, that sucks. We get to
the birthing section?
Yeah. We get to the check-in, and I'm sitting there. I'm talking to the woman, and she sees my daughter, and she's like, oh, do you guys want pre-boarding? And I was like,
yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, yeah, we give it to, and my daughter isn't like you wouldn't look at her right away and go, oh, my God, she needs to be pre-boarded. But I was looking at her. I was like, okay, yes, I'll take it. Let's give me the pre-boarding. I'll go from C to before A. Got, 4 awesome seats on the plane. And on top of using my daughter's disability to get fast passes at the park, I had a pretty good weekend.
He is just a cheese whiz, isn't he?
I'm just saying, I take advantage of what I can. But Southwest, I would, if they ever want to sponsor us, I would be more than happy to take them.
And
I'm in.
No? And a good friend, MB Heasley, David Heasley, sending me a private message, so I'm going to call you out. You said, does the super chat donation go to you guys? It better, because I don't know where else it would go, Dave. I'm guessing it goes to a Johnny V account that needs to be shared with me. But yes, it should. That goes right to us. So I don't know where else it would go. If it goes somewhere else, we're in trouble. David Heasley, he's 21, says, love the podcast and the videos. Keep up the great work. I feel like we're running a telethon. But thank you, David, who just donated $20 to our efforts. So,
which is
we should podcast like every night if we're gonna keep getting
22 SEK, which is
Swedish plus 22. The kroner, yeah, we're disc golf rich here. We're rolling it. Pretty soon, we're gonna be able to buy a calzone tomorrow night. Ranchero.
No calzone.
All right. I think we can wrap this up. We appreciate you guys joining us. It's been awesome. Yeah, we're swimming in money now. We certainly appreciate it. I think the $42 I think came in tonight. So we do appreciate it. We pay people like Ulibarri. We pay people like Dana and Zoe for their contributions and Disc Golf Nerd. And you guys, we really appreciate it. We want to continue to grow the podcast. I got to get one final question. Not jab. What's going on with 2 average pros and 2 Joes or 42 Joes podcast? What are you guys up to?
We just did one the other night. It's good. We just talk about stuff. I make fun of Jerem a lot, and then talk about some.
How do I donate to that?
But no, we're doing good, and I think our 9th episode just came out. So.
And they can find that where?
2jovesandanaveragepro.com.
Okay. Or 2pros-and-an-average-pro.com.
Just whatever you guys type in. I'm sure. We're so popular. You Google that, the thing will pop.
Just type
up.
in
2 average somethings, and boom, my face will just.
2 Joe Schmoes, and these guys will all show up.
No, but I think the last episode we talked about the cancellation of the last rounds and tournaments and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's good stuff.
Awesome. All right, guys. Again, on a final note, it's 12:01, giving us a full 3 hours here tonight. I have to thank our pal Paul Ulibarri again for joining us. He's a regular contributor for Uli's picks and for other information around the tour, so it's great to be here in person with him while we're here in Jonesboro, Arkansas for the Disc Golf Pro Tour stop. For Johnny V back at the controls in Milwaukee, also for Disc Golf Nerd for submitting your video. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow during our live broadcast, which will kick off just about at 3 p.m. Central Time, and then possibly check out the Disc Golf Guy channel tomorrow night, maybe doing something similar over there for a podcast as well to give you guys more action after day 2. So, Johnny, Terry, Paul, we'll see you guys tomorrow. You step inside the Smashbox.